He can't be serious. He can't be serious. I thought he was gonna say like, oh no, that hadith is actually disputed. Some people don't think it should be included. But instead he was like, nah, she was just a doll hobbyist. You know how some... And she went to the local club with all the other doll hobbyists. She was collecting anime figurines. Get out of here.
The doll community is deeper than you might imagine, actually.
That was memeing. He actually meant it. This is going to be a pretty wild segment. We're about to watch a debate about whether it is morally okay to respond to words with violence. Now, as an American, that's a pretty offensive concept. Now, I'm sure somebody could like maybe make like a harassment argument about like if somebody comes out and is harassing you at your home and you punch them or something, like, of course, but that's separate than like making a political statement, making an offensive statement and being responded to with violence. That should not be the case. There's a First Amendment in our country that protects that type of speech because it allows people who are marginalized marginalized either politically, racially, or in any way to go out and advocate for themselves and advocate for what they believe in. And the whole reason we have the First Amendment isn't to protect popular speech. If somebody comes out and says, I like pies, yeah, that's okay. The whole reason we have the First Amendment is to protect radical, crazy, like, provocative speech. And so that's not something I want to cave on. I have no interest in caving on that. That's something that I really love as an American, is that we have the First Amendment and it's so powerful. And so the idea that we're going to allow assault because somebody said something offensive is pretty crazy. Now, the reason this conversation is happening in the first place is because Destiny posted this on Twitter. So he was looking for a fight, okay? He was looking for a fight. He was looking for a fight, okay? And I, like, this is pretty offensive. Did I giggle a bit? Yeah. But it's also like I knew immediately. They're almost I giggled more at just at the audacity. It was like, oh my god, man, I can't even imagine being Destiny in those DMs. This isn't the only thing he posted. He posted a lot of images of the Prophet Muhammad, which in the Islamic faith is a very, very big taboo. He brought up Aisha, which was Muhammad's wife, which he married when she was very, very young. Documents somewhat kind of like vary about when he exactly married her and when he consummated the marriage. Between the ages of 6 and 10 from the hadiths and stuff. I don't want to get too into specifics, but point is, a lot of the more classical records seem to show that Muhammad was with her when she was very young. Where in more modern, there are some people in the more modern age that are trying to change it, say no, she was 18, 19, but the classical records do not seem to show that, right? And so that's something he was talking about a lot, which pissed off a lot of people. And in my opinion, a lot of this felt somewhat mean-spirited. And so I was like, oh, I don't think you should be doing that, Destiny. I don't think you should be doing that. You shouldn't be mean-spirited. And I'm sure if I got Destiny in a corner and I was like, do you think this was mean? Should you have said that? You'd be like, well, yes, I don't think it was mean. But then I saw like the response Destiny got, which was people posting his address publicly online, people trying to get people to literally go to his home and kill him and his family. And I was like, wow. Well, now on one hand, I could be like, that's pretty, like a lot of this is pretty over the top, Destiny, pretty mean. It feels like you're just trying to be provocative. But now it's like, well, now I have no choice, just principally, but to come out and defend Destiny from not being murdered. Because as much as I might be like, this is provocative, you're going out poking the bear, like words must not be responded to with violence in this way. We must protect and enshrine the First Amendment. Once we start to chip away at it, we're starting to remove the fundamental things that made our nation great, that makes our nation good, the things that I love about our nation. There's many things that's wrong with our nation, but the First Amendment is one of the many, 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 many good things. And is this image right here really worth a death threat? It's just a dumb meme. This is just a joke, if I'm being completely honest with you. The idea that somebody could be threatened with death because of this right here, absolutely silly. This is something I would think Norm Macdonald, if he was born today, if he was about my age, this is something I think he would be posting, right? So I go into this conversation with the idea that I would never poke the bear, quote unquote, or like be as provocative as Destiny was purposefully on this. Sometimes even I would even say got a little gross. But the response he has gotten is so overwhelmingly insane that I have no choice but to be like literally back off. What the hell, man? Not to mention, like, when there's like images of like Jesus posted online and like Jesus getting mocked and Jesus being made fun of, and Jesus, like, I posted an image about Jesus recently. I posted it. Now, part of this is because I'm not that well known, obviously. Definitely in comparison to Destiny, he's gigantic. But like, I posted like this recently. Was Jesus a CIA agent? Provoked unrest, destabilized the region, in contact with a handler codenamed Father, called for an airdrop of loaves, fishes, faked his own deaths, and has many good friends in the CIA. This was funny, and I posted it. I couldn't imagine somebody actually coming out and like threatening me over this, and we don't see that in the West. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's something Christians should be proud of, that they don't go around threatening people because of that. That's something Christians should be proud of. At the end of the day, like, in the United States, we have the First Amendment, and we should be holding up to that standard. So that's my position going up into this debate. So you guys kind of know that in advance. Now, let's watch it, because this thing it's pretty wild to actually watch somebody openly say, like, yeah, I think somebody should assault you for what you said. It's wild. And it's like, it's not like, and I would understand, like, maybe if it was more personally directed towards somebody, like if somebody was like, your mom is a whore, and it was like in front of somebody, that someone gets smacked, because that's just how human beings act. But we're talking about a religious faith. We're talking about a set of ideas and a way to live your life. Mocking that comedically, or even going after that ideologically, should be constitutionally protected speech, or we're going to make it so that we can't even critique religion. We can't even critique religious faiths. And so even if it borders on being pointlessly provocative or gross, like, at the end of the day, this must be protected. It must be protected speech.
Okay, is it morally okay for someone to make death threats towards somebody who makes fun of the Prophet or Islam?
No, I told you it's morally okay to respond with violence.
It is morally okay. It is.
Yeah, it is morally. It is 100% morally okay.
This is insane.
What is Islamophobia?
Colloquially speaking, Islamophobia usually means you hate Muslims. I don't hate Muslims, but I don't like Islam, and I don't like violent Muslims that are defending Islam with violence. But like, most Muslims in the United States aren't like that. They're generally pretty chill. It's not even targeted towards the person. What do you mean? You don't have the right to go around and be so offended that you want to kill somebody because they make fun of your fairy god. That's ridiculous. Yeah, and to compare that to somebody... Wait, can I...
What about the death threats and other such calls to violence to Destiny that you think do you find reasonable?
So we have to look at this from like an Islamic perspective.
I had a little bit of a problem finding guests for this panel, because most of the people that I interviewed to come on were not, they were toss risk, let's just say. The things that they told me
or
they wanted to tell you.
Interesting.
It wasn't,
or they thought of him as the fucking boogeyman, according to you.
A few didn't want to talk to you at all, and a few would only talk to you in a one-on-one setting.
I mean, I can always talk one-on-one, or like even without a moderator. Oh, I don't care. What, whoever wants to talk for whatever.
Yes. So it is what it is. Oh no, I had just promised a certain format to Karantos and Uzmark, who apparently didn't show, and so they wanted me to.
Dylan, do you know anybody who's Eastern Orthodox? Well, I mean, yeah, a lot of my Ukrainian friends are Eastern Orthodox, yeah.
Make it a one-on-one, and I said, nah, I'm not gonna do that to poor Karantos here. Karantos not gonna kick you off, Karantos, just because someone wants me to. So Karantos will be good. I think he will be an interesting interlocutor, even if Uzmark doesn't show up, and I am very disappointed that he is not here. But we will go on, and we will do what we can. So here we are. Let's start the show, gang. If he gets here, he gets here. Okay. Welcome to another episode of WIC TV, across ideological space where we discuss topics political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. Tonight we're going to be discussing Islam, Islamophobia, and some of Destiny's takes regarding the Muslim community. My guest here, Karantos, has had some issues with how Destiny has interacted and has asked me to set up a face-to-face discussion, which I have, and Destiny has graciously accepted. So without further ado, let's just get into it. Karatos, what are some of your problems here? Why were you so excited to be here tonight?
Listen, I seen the fucking vile that he put on Twitter. And me and my brothers were talking about all sorts of shit when you reached out to me and you said, hey, I gotta sit down with the man himself. And I was ready to jump on the opportunity. I'll keep it quick and concise, right? First of all, Destiny, also known as Stephen Kenneth Bonnell II, also known as Lil Steve, also known as Cux, Denise Olston, he goes by many names. I see on Twitter, he posts Bob the Minecraft dude, right? Mining the Kaaba. Now,
Hold on, that was Steve, the Minecraft dude, to be clear. But go ahead.
Steve. Okay, Steve the Minecraft guy. Right? I seen him mine the Kaaba, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I chuckled about how fucking insane that shit was, right? Because it didn't make sense. It was completely unprovoked. And of course, some Muslims responded to him. And due to their response, he proceeded to go on a multi-day Islamophobic tirade against our prophet and our faith. And I looked at it, I was like, okay, so why the f is he doing this?
Gonna be for real? Okay, when I think of Islamophobia and what's bad about Islamophobia, for me, criticizing the prophet of a faith or the faith itself, as long as you're literally not lying about it, right? That isn't Islamophobia. I guess, like, if we're talking about, like, the faith it could be, if you're, like, saying Islam teaches you that you have to kill literally everybody. Like, I guess you that could be Islamophobic. For me, it would be like, Muslims are this, Muslims are evil, Muslims are barbarians, Muslims are this, Muslims are that. That would be, in my mind, that's what Islamophobia is, or that's how it's usually talked about in, like, colloquial English, right? Nobody's like, man, Dylan made a really Islamic phobic statement the other day. Yeah, what did he said? Well, he said that he didn't believe hadith number 27 was correct, and that he believed that this principle of Islam is not something that he should live by or other people should live by, and that the idea of taxing non-Muslims in your state is really immoral and it's discriminatory. Like, that's not what people think about when they think about Islamophobia. Nobody's saying, like, oh, wow, you don't like the idea of non-Muslims being taxed higher. Like, yeah, of course that, like, most non-Muslims would criticize that. Nobody would consider that Islamophobia. Most people would be like, Muslims, turbans, it sounds like terrorism to me. That would be Islamophobia in colloquial terms. I guess we would have to go through each individual tweet to determine if it was Islamophobic in the colloquial way it's understood.
Did he?
That's not what Destiny did, though. Yeah, I know that's not what Destiny did, but he just said critiquing Islam and he said critiquing and mocking Islam and critiquing mocking the prophet. That isn't in and of itself Islamophobic. He needs to go more into the details of it.
Debate a Muslim recently about Islam, where certain Muslims coming at him. No, it was completely unprovoked, and then he decided to play victim. He said, look at all of these Muslims. Look at these rabid, insane, mean Muslims bullying me in my DMs. Oh my God, Elon, do something about these guys. They're being mean to me. This is ridiculous. Elon, you're not running your platform correctly. Of course he's not running his platform correctly if you're still on Twitter while you're ban evading. So you should be grateful to the man that he's ass at his job, right? And then he decided to keep playing this victim.
He's no longer ban evading as far as I'm aware. I believe he was unbanned. He was unpurged. You know, if Bad Empanada gets unpurged, Destiny gets unpurged. That seems to be the rule. Like, everybody gets unpurged.
Although, I distinctly remember this man himself ridiculing the alleged victim of, what's his name, Rich Campbell, the ex-co-owner of OTK. And he repeatedly kept calling her a retard because she didn't take accountability. She allowed a man that kept wanting to sleep with her up to her apartment, fully knowing that the guy is a full degenerate. And he kept pushing the idea of accountability. Like, the man is borderline a f***ing victim blamer as it gets, right? Yeah, he refuses to take accountability for the
original account is still banned. I didn't think that was the case. I thought he was unbanned. Yeah, because, like, okay, wait, 1 second. No, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. If I go to Twitter and I go to Destiny, okay? No, this is the old account that was unbanned. No, this is the OmniLiberal account that was unbanned. No, he was unbanned. He was unpurged.
Concise, that he does. You said you were going to be concise.
I'll conclude it, right?
Okay.
But he's not taking accountability. He's not taking accountability whatsoever, because the man understood the risks that he was taking mocking Islam. Because he makes fun of his cuck brother in arms, Nico, for the fact that he doesn't speak ill of Islam after Muslims gave him a hard time for mocking the prayer. Right? So he knew what he was doing. He fully knew what he was doing. And the fact is, he just wanted to posture. He just wanted to look tough for his retarded Discord dwelling, Reddit moderating, insane base, right? He just wanted to look tough for them. And in fact, he has boldened quite a few liberals and quite a few people on the left to start disrespecting Islam. Because ever since he started speaking crazy, I've seen plenty of Muslims get disrespected and our prophet be disrespected because they've been emboldened by destiny. And to conclude, I'll just tell him, listen, you poke at the hornet's nest, just be prepared to get stung. It's that simple.
That sounds like a threat. I'm gonna be real. That sounds like a threat, man. It sounds like a threat when we all know this is about Destiny getting death threats. That sounds like a threat to me.
You ever response to that? Have you emboldened Islamophobia?
I could hope so. I could only be so lucky. Do you think that it's like acceptable, or do you think it's okay that if you make fun of a certain religion, those people will come after you with death threats?
I 100% I'm comfortable with the idea that people will come at you for violence when you disrespect not only their faith, but their
Just so you
family.
know, when you're done with
anything
this,
that
I'm
they
going to
hold dear.
re-ask the same question that you don't want to answer.
Yeah, no, keep doing it.
Okay, so my question is do you think it's acceptable that if somebody goes after religion, those religious followers will come after them with death threats? Do you think that's an okay thing?
I do not approve of any sort of death threats. But we all know, by the way, let's not play games. We all know that these death threats are mainly and mostly empty. 100%. 99.9%. In fact, if not 100% of the people that are quote
The thing is with death threats, if 99.9% of the death threats are empty, that all it takes is one. It only takes one to not be empty for somebody to get killed, right? Just saying.
unquote threatening Destiny's life. By the way, this man has been threatened numerous times just to go and show you how f***ing garbage and empty these.
Make Danabo's job difficult. I gotta go get something from the bathroom. So Danabo, you entertain them in side chat. Be right back. Good job, Danabo. You're gonna have to edit that out. I love giving you more work.
Death threats are. He's just mad that Muslims gave him shit for his disrespect towards Islam. That's it.
Okay, I'm asking you again. Do you think it's okay for someone to make death threats towards somebody?
Wait, did you just not hear me? Wait, 1 second. Did you just not hear me? I'm pretty sure I answered you in the beginning. I told you that.
You said I don't approve. I'm not asking. I'm asking.
Yeah,
okay? Is it morally okay for someone to make death threats towards somebody who makes fun of the Prophet or Islam?
No, I told you it's morally okay to respond with violence.
It is morally okay. It is.
Yeah, it is morally. It is 100% morally okay. In fact, if you were
See, it sounds like he was weaseling around the answer because he knows how terrible that sounds.
to look not only across Islam only, it's not only exclusively for Islam, but for the vast majority of religions and for the vast majority of cultures. If you not only come at not only.
By the way, if you believe this, you should not live in America. I'm just saying that. I just like I don't know if this is a radical belief. I don't know if this person lives in America. I don't know where they live. I can't really I have no clue who this person really is. But if you believe this, you should not live in America at all. Because this is like something that's fundamental to being American, to be like American principles. And I don't really know if I could even like share a society with you if this is something that you believe. Because if it's like, I will attack you if you say this about my religion, like now I'm like, God, it makes you sound like an unstable individual, right? It makes you feel like, wow, man, I got to watch my words around this guy. I'm going to get killed. I'm going to get stabbed. I'm going to get hurt if he finds out that I believe this about Islam, right? If I believe this about his faith. Like it just is not good, man. It's not good for producing functioning liberal societies.
Not their religion, but at their loved ones or anything that they hold dear.
Like if somebody said out loud, like, "How dare you mock Jesus? I'm gonna kill you or I'm gonna attack you," I would laugh in their face endlessly. Like, the idea of even having that happen to me is ridiculous. I would want that person not to do anything with, I would want that person not even related to my society whatsoever. And I would apply that same standard to every single other faith, including Islam.
They respond with violence.
Okay.
Isn't
Well,
that
we're like a fundamental thing then. I think people like that don't belong in liberal society. If you think that that's acceptable, yeah.
I mean, liberal society and religion will never coexist. For liberalism to thrive, you'll need to eliminate religion. So obviously,
No, that's not true. There's a lot of Muslims in the United States that don't share your view. There's a lot of Christians in the United States that don't have the view. There's a lot of Jewish people in the United States and other religions as well that don't share the view.
Would you say those people practice Islam the way that it's meant to be practiced?
Well, the way that you think it's meant to be practiced.
No, not the way that I think it's meant to be practiced, because the deen is clear, the faith is clear.
It's obviously it's not clear when you've got huge divides even in the Middle East over how you practice your religion, right? It's obviously not clear.
So are you telling me the divides in the Middle East are as similar as in the West and what they believe? Because the liberal Muslims in the West are completely comfortable with ideas such as homosexuality, for example.
Awesome.
Okay.
Man, isn't that show how awesome America is? How good of an integrator we are, like when it comes to immigration, that like when we're the melting pot, we are the melting pot. You come here, man, and 2 generations down, man, your kids are cool with the gays. It's pretty good. It's pretty based, man. I love it.
So it's nowhere near similar. The difference is
I don't care. Well, I mean, the people in the Middle East are literally killing themselves over the differences in their religion and other issues, right? So, I mean, yeah, it seems like there are pretty big disagreements. I'm just saying it's not obviously a clear-cut thing.
Yeah, it's nothing is completely unanimous where 100 out of 100 people completely agree on how a certain verse is interpreted or how a certain law needs to be put into place, obviously. But for the vast majority of Muslims, we are in agreement as to how our faith should be practiced. And for the vast majority of those Muslims, they cannot coexist within Muslims or within liberal society whatsoever.
Okay. Well, I mean, I wouldn't want to exist with those guys, but I mean, like, where does that like a fundamental impasse?
Of course, you described this. Yeah, of course, you described us as savages online.
Well, what you're describing is savagery. Yeah, of course.
What is savagery about what I'm describing?
Killing somebody for posting a picture of your ferryman is savage. That's
Okay, I wouldn't use the word savage just due to its historical connotation, but I understand what he's saying. It is something that just does not function in the type of society that we want to run in the West, okay? If we are running this in the United, and I hate using the term West, but it's the term everybody uses. If this is the type of society if we devolve that in the United States, we would have to get rid of the First Amendment. We would have to get rid of some of the guiding principles that have made our country fantastic, that all Americans, or at least the vast majority of Americans, love about our country. And I'm not willing to give that up. And so if people are coming to the United States and they want to like change the things that make America, I think, successful, great, and fantastic, I would say we don't want you here. We wouldn't want you in our country. And the thing is, the Muslims that do come to the United States, they seem to Americanize very quickly. They seem to integrate very quickly. And if you poll them on beliefs, many of them are more progressive than like the average evangelical. So I would say that we're pretty good at that. And I think it shows that they're coming over with certain values to the United States. They're integrating and they're saying, oh, I like these American values. I like these freedoms. I like this economic prosperity. I like the things that America has to offer. In fact, I like them more than the idea of going out and assaulting somebody because they said something mean about my religion. Jews have to deal with that all the time. Christians have to deal with that all the time. And Muslims have to deal with it all the time. And it's a lot of times it's mean. A lot of times I would even say it is Islamophobic. It is bigoted. But that is part and parcel of living in a liberal society. In fact, if we didn't have these protections, the religious protections and the protections of the First Amendment, I don't even know if a lot of the religious minorities that came over to the United States could be in the United States. The same protections that are protecting somebody for saying something very hateful directed towards the faith, or just straight criticism directed towards the faith, are the same things that are protecting members of the faith for what they are saying. Because if you look at old United States, when you're talking about like the Salem witch trials and shit, do you think if those people were still in charge in America today, they would hear about Muslims? Do you think they would be pretty chill with that? Do you think they would be okay? But no, we developed as a society and have moved way past that when it comes to the law cracking down on people. Of course, there's still individual examples of Islamophobia. I still think there can sometimes even be constitutional violations when it comes to police monitoring Muslims in mosques. After 9/11, it was particularly bad when it comes to the spike in hate crimes and how our intelligence services treated the Muslim community and monitored them illegally and unconstitutionally. But the problem there isn't that we didn't like abide by being violent towards the people who disrespected Islam. The problem there is that we let our principles when it comes to civil protections of the Constitution waver, which is what he's asking for. He's asking for us to waver on those commitments as a society, something that are fundamental to our belief structure as Americans. Well, something that I know Destiny can at least relate to because he's an American. I know Wick probably relates to it because he's an American as well.
Savagery. Yeah.
No. Get this correct. I said that it's completely 100% correct. If, let's say, somebody punched you in the mouth, I have no problem with it. Just like if I were to go out of my way and disrespect somebody's mother and they were to punch me in my mouth, that is 100% within their right. That is what I believe. Now, do I believe that somebody needs to chop your head off? Absolutely not. I do not agree with that. So you need to get it correct, because you keep trying to paint me into this corner where I'm saying that I am comfortable with people killing you, which I'm not.
Okay. It doesn't really change what I'm saying. But there's like the violence in response to somebody disrespecting your shitty religion. I just is fundamental incompatible with my view of society. So, but I mean,
and you're willing to 100% take on the mantle of an Islamophobe, right? You believe in it.
If that's what Islamophobia means, then sure, Islam.
Then define. No. 1 second. Define Islamophobia according to you. Then
I don't.
Let's see.
As a liberal in Western society, my beliefs on how society should be ran are incompatible.
If I'm being for real, if we were to I disagree with most Abrahamic beliefs around homosexuality. I disagree with a lot of the beliefs around taxation of non-Muslims. Like, we could go by the principles of Islam and how a lot of Islamic societies have been run historically. And you could list a lot of differences that are very, very stark from the United States. And Muslims who have moved to the United States would have to accept the fact that in the United States, we live this way. We live with liberal principles, and it seems that the ones that move here seem to agree with those liberal principles, given generational developments. Their children end up being born and agreeing with the principles. They end up integrating, and they end up living prosperous lives.
People who think it's okay to respond with violence to people that make fun of their religion. So if that makes me an Islamophobe, then I'll be an Islamophobe. If you think it's a core tenet of Islam to respond with violence to people that post pictures of the Prophet, then f those people. If that makes me Islamophobic, then sure.
Okay, so I'll ask you again, because that didn't answer my question whatsoever. Define Islamophobia to me according to what you believe it is. What is Islamophobia?
Colloquially speaking, Islamophobia usually means you hate Muslims. I don't hate Muslims, but I don't like Islam, and I don't like violent Muslims that are defending Islam with violence. But like most Muslims in the United States aren't like that. They're generally pretty chill here. I don't know where the fuck you're from, but
I have a question maybe to kind of get us on some kind of track, right? Apologies, I've been desperately DMing the people who are supposed to show, and they're just not responding. So we'll make do. So you mentioned that Destiny. You mentioned that you don't find it acceptable for people to make violent threats based on making fun of their religion online. Where to you, just so we can get a baseline here, when do you find violence acceptable? Like, at what point can someone cross a line, and once that line is crossed, you're just like, okay, violence is okay to do to this person?
You're asking me or him?
You, Destiny.
I'm not Destiny.
I mean, violence is okay in self-defense, I guess. Is generally when I approve of violence or violence mandated by the state for the purpose of enforcing laws and stuff. Okay,
so if someone is verbally abusive, under no circumstances. I'm just trying to get
if somebody calls you a mean name and you go and attack them, fuck no, that's insane.
Okay. Good to know.
In my opinion.
What do you think? Obviously, you have different opinions, Karantos, but for you, Karantos, where is that line? You are obviously okay if someone's mocking religion. Does it have to reach a certain level of mockery, or any mockery whatsoever can be answered with violence at the drop of the hat? Does it have to be a repeated offense? Or what is your where are your lines, Karantos?
No, absolutely.
Danabo just sent me. 1 second. What's this? Why is everyone so angry at me? I don't. Why does everyone say I'm uninformed? I didn't know the N-word was a slur. That's unbelievably out of context. That is unbelievably out of context. This is unbelievably out of context. Danabo, don't post that as a YouTube short. Don't post that as a YouTube short. Don't do that. I have a career. I have a channel. I have a livelihood. I have to protect. Don't post that. Don't post that. Don't post that. Don't do that, Danabo. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. Hey, you. This career, that you have with me, you know, just say if I go under, you go down with the ship. Just saying, we go down together.
I believe that since you cannot police or figure out people's intentions and what they believe inside, right? I'd say if somebody is coming to you with constructive criticism or with criticism of any kind when it comes to your faith, I believe that that should be actually listened to and you should engage with it. But if people are purely coming to disrespect your faith and to ridicule everything that you hold near and dear to your heart, then I believe 100% it is justified, without a shadow of a doubt, to be violent, 100%. Because I'll tell you this much, right? If you misgender a transgender person, would Destiny not consider that to be a sort of violence against them? Would he not consider it an attack
I don't know.
that hurts them or that may lead them? I know he's free to answer when I'm done talking. But would he not consider that, first of all, transphobia, right? And second of all, leading a person that may be vulnerable into possibly hurting themselves even more? What would you say to that, Destiny?
Man, you know, you got me. I'm a huge simp for those trans people. No.
Clearly you're not, but I'm just interested
obviously
in
not. Is it transphobic? Yeah, it could be, but I don't think you can.
Why did you post this on my YouTube? Why did you post it? Dog, I need to like. Dan, why did you? You're Danabo's like, he's an operative, man. He's a Russian op. He's trying to get me destroyed. He's trying to destroy me from the inside.
Respond to trans.
Somebody give me biddies. Does somebody give me biddies? Hey, Treasure Man's with 100 biddies. Sir, we're taking on water quite quickly. The ship is sinking. Very true. Very true. Look at Danabo in site chat with all the site chatters. Site chatters, get them. Save me. Save me.
Phobia with violence.
No, I'm not saying that although some of them do respond with violence.
Yeah, and I don't approve of that.
Would it not be considered?
Oh, he sent me a message. He says, if you cross me, I'll publish it. Ah, thank you. Thank you, Danabo, for your deep kindness. Now I might just publish it by myself just to get rid of your leverage and just see what happens.
In some sort of ways violent for you to misgender somebody, especially if their mental state is so unstable that they view themselves as something that they're not.
I'll stop pausing and we'll go back because I'm not listening to what they're saying right now. Somebody just said, sir, a second clip has hit the towers. Okay, we'll continue.
Although some of them do respond with violence.
Yeah, and I don't approve of that.
Would it not be considered in some sort of ways violent for you to misgender somebody, especially if their mental state is so unstable that they view themselves as something that they're not? Because apparently...
No, it is not violent to misgender somebody. If you go up to somebody who is trans and you punch them in the face, that would be violent. It isn't violent to misgender someone. It's rude, but it's not violent. They're just words. They're just words.
Last time I checked, you claim to be rooted in reality, and that's why you don't believe in mysticism, and that's why you don't believe in religion.
I mean, you can call it a type of violence, sure, but like if we're gonna define violence,
a type of, what is it? Okay, what is he even saying? A type of violence?
As broadly as that, then I'm not gonna say you can respond to that violence with actual physical violence.
No, I'm just curious. So your line is physical violence. What you have a big problem against is physical violence. That's it.
As most people do, yes.
But, I mean, that's a pretty big deal, yeah.
No, I mean, sure, but if I were to misgender somebody and they were to go kill themselves, that would also be considered fucked up. I would say that is way more fucked up than, let's say, a Muslim going out of his way to jumping you or something, and then maybe, like, giving you a black eye. Wouldn't that make sense?
No, I disagree. I mean, unless we're talking like targeted bullying where you're like DMing this person, you're getting your whole crew to like gang stalk somebody or whatever. No, just misgendering somebody is not a call for return to violence. No, bullying somebody isn't something you can respond to with violence. I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
Bullying someone, well, you mentioned certain types of bullying might elicit kind of a moral response to you. If you were being harassed every day, constantly,
yeah, like if some dude was like running in front of you every day screaming in your face or something, I'm sure at some point, but like just like mean words on the internet, no, I don't think so.
So you're saying, okay, so 1 second. So does it depend on the amount of times that it happens?
I mean, yeah, it could depend on amount of times, proximity. There are some things where theoretically it could be bad, but like it's going to be pretty hard to get there on the internet for like normal people, I think.
Weren't you the same man that wanted to kill somebody for DDoSing you a few years ago? I wouldn't say that it's an insane line that is impossible. Of course, if you don't consider yourself normal, then ignore.
Number one, DDoSing isn't words, okay? DDoSing is a denial of service attack. It's something that makes you, in Destiny's case, unable to do the job that allows him to feed himself. That's not free speech, okay? Is it free speech for me to go to your workplace and slash your fucking tires, which is the equivalent of what they were doing to Destiny when they were DDoSing him? That's the first thing. And the second thing, this wasn't like 1 day or 2 days. This was like a constant like DDoS like frenzy in order to make it so Destiny couldn't have a fucking job. It's a little different than posting a meme with a Minecraft pickaxe.
Everything that I'm saying.
So I'm the same man who wanted to kill somebody who was cutting away all of my income, who I had no recourse through the FBI or the police when I had a child support and a house to care for, and a guy was basically slashing my tires every single day when I was trying to go into work. Yeah.
He stole what I said. Fuck off. Fuck off. He went into I swear it is pre-watched.
I was getting pretty desperate in that situation. Correct. You trying to prove a point?
Okay. So let me get somewhere. So you are comfortable with not only violence but killing somebody, even though they didn't hurt you physically or they didn't do anything to you other than cut your source of income.
Yeah, if somebody was
killing somebody.
Yeah, I guess if somebody was cutting your source of income every day that you used to support your family, then yeah, I probably would. Yeah, go for it. If you came outside every single day and some guy was slashing your tires and he wouldn't stop and you called the police and nobody wanted to do anything despite having proof for it, you're like, well, I'm gonna have to attack this dude and maybe even kill him. Yeah, sure, go for it. I think that's okay.
So you're claiming that this same person that was DDoSing you was also slashing your tires, or are you just using it as
it's the equivalent. It's the equivalent.
So you're telling me because you were DDoSed and you weren't able to provide for your family, you would 100% resort and you would justify, you would still stand by it today?
Yeah, of course.
According to you. So till this day you stand by it, because there's plenty of things that you say you do not stand by it, that you cringe at because it happened in the past. So is this one not one of those things?
No, this is something I would stand by. Absolutely. This is like an easy. Yeah, of course.
So just because your income is being cut, it justifies you killing somebody. Now, how does that put it at a higher level than how Muslims hold the Prophet, peace be upon him?
Because it's not even remotely close to the same. What do you mean? Your income is.
Okay. So, being unable to feed your child, Minecraft meme. Dude. This is non-serious.
Hide your ability to provide for the survival of your family, whether or not somebody's
but it wasn't the only way that you could provide for your family. Let's be serious now, right? It's not like your life is completely forfeit and your family is going to die because you can't stream on Twitch.
No, but why would I let a random third party attack my main source of income? I mean, theoretically, anybody could work a different job, but like.
And you're telling me that wouldn't be the logical next step to take?
Also, if you look at some of the history of like the like union struggles in like West Virginia and the Battle of Blair Witch Mountain and like all this type of stuff, people in American history have been pretty protective of their job and union benefits. So it isn't that crazy, the idea that somebody would protect what has given their family prosperity and high living standards with violence. It isn't that crazy.
You let a guy essentially rob $80,000 a year from you. No, that's insane.
Okay, so you're telling me that your next logical step to that was not to go get a job, was because that you were being robbed off of $80,000 a year, that it would 100% make sense to go kill that person.
Yeah, they wouldn't stop.
So how does that make you? So how does that make you different from these so-called extremists that you face on Twitter?
Is somebody losing income when I post a picture of Muhammad?
No, again.
Is somebody being threatened when I post a picture of Muhammad?
No, let me answer you.
Well, no, wait, answer. Make it analogous. Let's make it analogous now.
No, I'm answering you, right? I literally did. You didn't listen previously, so I'll repeat myself again.
So nobody's being harmed, nobody's losing income. It's not comparable.
The reason that you did not, the reason that you felt so strongly about that person that you wanted to kill him is because not only you, but your child and your wife were at risk, that they were losing income. Yet you completely dismiss the fact that Muslims hold the Prophet in equal regard to their parents, if not higher. So why wouldn't they feel disrespected that you are tarnishing his name and giving his image a bad light to all these people that are consuming your content, that are following you on Twitter?
The connection doesn't make, and the connection is not working.
There is 100% a connection. The reason why you felt so strong and you wanted to kill the person was because they were putting your family at risk. They were putting your ability to put food on the table at risk.
Yes.
Because you love these people and you wanted to provide for them.
Yes.
Right?
Am I threatening somebody's ability to put food on the table when I post pictures of Muhammad?
Now again, it's not a complete one-to-one.
It's not a.
It's not comparable at all. One has an actual physical impact on your daily life right now, you being unable to feed yourself and your family. The other is a meme that you do. You want to know how I defeat an offensive meme? Let's pull up let's say I have an offensive meme. Oh my gosh, this person on the internet just put an offensive meme. They said Ukraine is gay. Oh my god, what am I gonna do? God, what they called Ukraine? Oh my. Turn off your fucking phone. Put it down. Close your computer. It's that easy. It doesn't impact you. You can just go to work. Go get a job.
It's not a one to anything. It's not even remotely
It
comparable.
absolutely is, because you're not listening to me. I'm telling you the fact that Muslims hold the Prophet in such high regard that they wouldn't take and they wouldn't tolerate any sort of disrespect, especially coming from somebody that has absolutely no right moral framework whatsoever.
I don't care. It
Because
doesn't
you're
matter if
100%
you.
comfortable
No,
with
it's
killing a
not even.
person
It's not
because
even.
they cut
It's not
$80,000
even
off of their
targeted
income.
towards the person. What do you mean? You don't have the right to go around and be so offended that you want to kill somebody because they make fun of your fairy god. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
and to compare that to somebody. Wait, can I finish one sentence?
Stop.
Can I finish one thing before he like sways the
You gotta let him finish his point, and then you can respond. I promise you. There's only two of you here, so you'll have all the time.
I don't know. I mean, he got pretty angry there because he called his god a fairy god, right? But the thing, like, I mean, he's debating Destiny. I don't know what he expected, right? He debated the guy who posted the image of the Kaaba being mined by Minecraft Steve, right? I don't know what he expected, right? He can't, like, he should have been kind of like aware this was gonna happen. My goodness, I've never seen somebody act that. I've talked to some pretty like pretty crazy religious fundamentalists in the Christian faith. I've never seen anybody react that way, like that to me, like being like Jesus, like there's a decent chance Jesus is real, or watching other people say Jesus isn't real. My goodness. Huh. By the way, why is he wearing a ski mask? Does anybody know? Matt, I don't know. I haven't seen, even in church, I never remembered that. Not saying those people don't exist. I just haven't had a personal experience with that.
In the world, Destiny, go ahead.
Yeah. Posting pictures online of somebody does not represent a material harm or threat to another person. If you want to do some crazy mental gymnastics to make that the equivalent of attacking somebody's job, that's fine.
Wait, does
but
it
like
not?
I said,
So images
wait,
are
can I
fine.
finish?
Right,
Can I
I thought I
finish?
mute you.
Can you mute
Hold
him?
on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to do some crazy mental gymnastics, make that the same or similar to threatening somebody's livelihood or whatever, that's fine. But I'm going to say that religious viewpoint is incompatible with my view of society. I would have all of those people removed from whatever country I'm in because that's dysfunctional.
Okay, I'll unmute, and you may respond. Kratos, go ahead.
So this man just said that images do not equate harm in any way, shape, or form. That images should 100% just be allowed. If somebody wanted to post images of the Holocaust, let's say, and just joke about it.
Sure, knock
that there's
yourself out. Yeah,
nothing
go for it.
harmful, There is nothing harmful or anti-Semitic about it whatsoever.
I didn't say there wasn't anything harmful or anti-Semitic. I'm just saying that harmful and anti-Semitic images can't be responded to with violence.
No. You just said that you are not harming anybody by posting the images that you did.
I
by
didn't say
speaking
that.
about
I
Islam.
never said that.
You just said that.
Kratos, a minute.
Hi, guys.
Yes. Well,
Can you hear me?
Yes, give us a second, Uzmark. You're a little late. We're gonna let them go out a little bit, and then we'll get you in there. I promise you. Kratos, Destiny, right? Well, I'll ask Destiny directly. Destiny, if someone posts Holocaust pictures or other photos, do you think it's right to do violence to them?
No, of course not. The term I used earlier was material harm. If you're like actually damaging somebody's livelihood.
You didn't.
I literally did. There's tons of ways you
sure.
can harm somebody. For instance, you gave me that transphobic example.
I've had to interact with people like in the world, right, and see them in person who have said like horrible things, who have denied the most horrific of war crimes in Bucha, like locations that I've been to. I've like been at the mass graves, been like, damn, there's like 50 bodies under this dirt. I'm talking to the locals who were affected by it, crying while trying to describe like the type of things they saw. And then I find people who just completely deny it happened or are purposely trying to cover it up, like just pretend it didn't happen, knowing full well that they know that it happened, right? But it's still, if I am going to hold in principle over society, there might be an instance where somebody one day says something and crosses the line with me and I get physically violent, or somebody might in some specific instance, but that doesn't mean it's even the right thing to do. Like, you could even, for example, let's say somebody came to me and started saying some horrible things about my mom and I bop him in the nose. I could do that and you could still ask me afterwards, was that the right thing to do? And I'm like, no, technically it wasn't. No, it is not the right thing to do when it comes to words, when it comes to these types of words. Unless the words tried to incite violence, which I don't believe Destiny was trying to do, then I don't believe it's a good idea. As a rule, as a general rule of thumb.
And I said, yeah, that probably would be transphobic, which would probably be harmful. But I said, I don't think you can respond to that with violence. You literally gave me that as an example earlier. Do you remember?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I don't think you can respond to all forms of harm, especially if we're defining harm very broadly.
Dog rushed to do the Biden rally. I yelled at him. I didn't cackle him. I yelled at him. There was a dude at like a Biden rally, like just yelling randomly about like, you're killing the Ukrainians by saying you, and I got like really angry at him. Yeah, it was also right when I got back too, so I was also like I was a little on edge about it too.
With violence, that's insane.
No, what I asked you was, you say that you do not consider posting the image that you did of Steve mining the Kaaba or of the Prophet, right? You say that these are not harmful. That's what you said.
I never said that. So many people might consider that harmful, which I'm fine with. That's okay. But you can't respond to a picture harm with violence. That's insane.
Okay. Would you feel the same if someone was posting pictures of your address?
No.
Like,
no. Obviously, that's a different thing because we're not talking about a picture there. That's like saying, like, what if somebody posted a picture that contained the exact instructions to create like a nuclear pipe bomb? No, obviously not. But the issue there isn't the picture of the. It's not the picture. It's that you're giving instructions for somebody to do harm to something. So, like, if you, for instance, if you posted a picture of like my house and my kid outside, that would probably not be okay. But not because you're posting like an offensive picture, because it's like a call to violence.
Obviously, doxing somebody is completely different.
Sure, I was just because we gave it.
Okay, no, I understand. But okay, so you're telling me if somebody posted deep fake child porn of your kid, you wouldn't want to kill that person?
Yeah, I probably would. But
of course somebody would want to, but it's one thing to want to do something and to go and do it.
I wouldn't.
Okay. So you wait, get the f out of here. That is such a non-answer.
Stop.
It's not a non-answer at all. There's a lot of things that
You
people
said
do.
you would, but I wouldn't.
Karatos, I will mute you again.
There's a lot of things that people can make you do in life that might make you want to kill that person. There's a difference between having a desire to do something versus saying it's morally permissible to do it. These are two fundamentally. That's why I kept asking you, is it okay?
I was talking about earlier, like there might be an instance where somebody like says something really offensive about my mom and I punch him in the face or something, and afterwards you could be like, was that the right thing to do? And I'd have to say, no, I don't think it was the right morally thing to do. Like morally it was not the right thing to do, but I still did it because I was super pissed in a moment, and you crossed the line for me. Like you can like want to do something and still acknowledge it's not morally the right thing to do, or it's certainly not the rule of which to guide your society. Because if the rule is you insult somebody's family member, you can assault them, that's a terrible way to run a society when it comes to freedom of expression. Because what about politicians? Like if I started insulting Donald Trump's daughter or son, like I say, your son's a corrupt piece of shit, can he now come up and bop me in the face? Like there's just, you have to have these protections, and they have to be strong protections for freedom of expression. They have to be, or they start falling apart.
For somebody to threaten violence towards me, if I make fun of Muhammad, you keep saying, well, I wouldn't approve, blah, blah, blah. I don't care if you approve. I'm not asking you to approve. We're having a conversation on morals or ethics. It's ethical to do so. There are going to be some things in society that are going to be understandable that probably wouldn't be ethical. If a guy went into a park and another dude like smacked his son and the guy like killed the guy for doing it, like ethically, that's probably not okay, but like I understand why the dude would do it. These are different questions. If you want to ask me questions, be precise and I'll give you a precise answer.
Okay, at this point, what I want to do is introduce Uzmark, who initially came to me with this source. I'm assuming daylight savings threw you off.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I came back just to my computer. I just went outside for a moment. I came back and I was like, oh shit, it's already started. I assumed it was going to start at 3 o'clock. For me here, it's 2:30 in the morning, so I don't know what happened. I think daylight savings.
No, I get it. I almost fucked up.
But I wanted to give you a chance. We've gotten into it a little bit, but I know you were the one who initially reached out to me and said you had a lot of problems with some of the things that Destiny has said and the interactions he's had. So I wanted to give you a chance to kind of hash that out and kind of give us why did you reach out to me? What caused you to want to talk to Destiny about what he's done?
Yeah, so I wrote a little opening statement, but I suppose it's moot now because we've already jumped into it.
If I can read it, why not? Go for it.
Okay, sure, why not? I'll go for it. So right away, I want to say that I'm not an Islamic scholar, right? I'm not an expert in Islamic theology. If during the course of this discussion any of those topics come up, just know that I'm like, don't take what I say as gospel. Like, I don't. All I can say is just what upon my knowledge, and that should be taken just as that. So like if we touch upon the topic of like, is Islam a force for good or ill or not, like I think we're gonna have trouble coming to some like any real conclusions and overcoming the fundamental differences in the philosophical like foundations. Like the definition of good and for a divine command theorist is just doesn't exist for a moral anti-realist. So it's going to be a difficult discussion to have if we touch on that. For the topics that concerned Destiny's tweeting, my goal isn't to woke skull Destiny. For being like for being Islamophobic or for being an Islamophobe. Like I've seen people try similar things before and it's been an effort in futility, really. But I do think a discussion or acknowledgement of Islamophobia is pertinent, as it's an issue that frames this whole discussion. I've tried to keep my aim clear and concise, is to argue that the reactions of Muslims, as outrageous as they've been, should not be characterized as fragility, as Destiny often and repeatedly has. And if you do see it as fragility, it's a rational, logical, and warranted fragility. At least.
If somebody says like "screw you, Destiny" or something like that, or "you suck, Destiny," you're pointlessly that's one thing, right? But if somebody's posting his address online or where his kids go to school, or like where they like how they're gonna go kill them, that person's fragile. If you can't deal with the fact that there's other people in the world who disagree with your faith and are going to criticize it or mock it, you're a fragile person. That fragileness could have been indoctrinated into you, but you're a fragile person.
At least from an Islamic perspective.
Let's ask directly, what about the death threats and other such calls to violence to Destiny that you think, do you find reasonable?
So we have to look at this from like an Islamic perspective to understand like whether you would characterize the death threats or the silencing of someone as fragility. So like the Islamic outrage that Destiny has experienced, right, is at least, I think, rationally and logically commensurate with mocking the Prophet. From an Islamic perspective, it's internally consistent. So like to characterize it as...
And that's a fragile perspective. This perspective you're offering is a fragile perspective, man. It's extremely fragile.
Fragility is extremely harmful and it's pernicious, and as well as the other things that Destiny said, that Muslims are violent and such and so forth. We can talk about that later on in the future. But I think to characterize Muslims as fragile and the connotations that go along with that is extremely pernicious.
Can we, on asking for that definition, with that definition of fragility, isn't by definition then literally nobody fragile? Like if I use that same thing, so like let's say for instance somebody comes out and they say like, oh, like I think that white people are like the mayonnaise of people, and somebody's like, that's horrible, that's evil, I can't believe you'd say that, and you're like, oh well, you're fragile. Couldn't I wheel out this explanation and say, well, within the context of a society where this individual feels like their whiteness is under attack and it's being heralded by the media as a great thing to shut on white people, he's actually not being fragile. Like I feel like from an individual's perspective, they're never really being fragile. No? Like,
sure. Yeah. Something can be fragile. Everything could be fragile, or nothing could be fragile, depending on some person's personal subjective experience.
This is this is silly though. Then you've completely made the word, which everybody has been using up until now, perfectly loosely. Like I say, haha, you look funny. It's like it's a swinging around. That person's fragile. They're thin-skinned and they're fragile. That's how people have always used the term. I don't know why we need to change it now to make it so it doesn't cover anybody.
But I think if we can agree on some fundamentals, or if you can understand the Muslim perspective, at least to a degree, I've put forth a little syllogism for you. If you can somewhat understand or agree with them, even slightly, I think we shouldn't characterize Muslims as fragile for how they've been acting. So, premise one, the Prophet is an ultimate example for mankind from now until the end of time. He's central to the Islamic faith, which is humanity is key to heaven and the afterlife. If his example is obscured,
oh, okay, wait. Can we go to the back of this? This is not gonna go well. I can see where this is gonna go from a mile away.
the Prophet is an ultimate example for mankind from now until the end of time.
But the problem is the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, just like any other prophet in any other faith, lived in a certain time period, and living in the certain time period, they probably had different standards and ethics, and it's like how, you know, in the Bible, it has a little instruction book on how to treat your slaves, you know, just because it was written in a different time period, a different era. And if it is a book that's supposed to be used for all times to the end of time, having instructions in the book on how to treat your slave, that doesn't feel very modern, does it? It doesn't feel very moral, does it? No, it's not moral, because slavery was always wrong, even if societies didn't judge it as so. And so all Destiny will have to do now is find a single instance where Muhammad acted in a way that would be considered immoral by modern standards, and be like, from now to the end of time. And then this is going to become a religious debate, which is what it seems like it's going to veer into.
He's central to the Islamic faith, which is humanity is key to heaven and the afterlife. If his example is obscured, humanity's salvation is threatened. 2, mocking the Prophet has no benefit, unlike a critique or investigation into something that you may disagree with.
Okay, this might seem shallow, but it could be funny. Like, I like watching South Park, and I remember when they tried to, like, they mocked every religion, but then when they tried to mock Islam, they, like, had to censor it in a silly way because of possible threats and stuff. Like, that is bad. Honestly, that gives a worse image to Islam than if they were to just suck it up and deal with the fact that Muhammad was going to get mocked on South Park. The fact that the South Park studios were scared to even portray him, even though he wasn't going to be super offensive or anything. He had, like, fireballs or something, right? That gives a worse image to Islam and the Prophet Muhammad than if they were to just, like, allow them to, like, with no backlash whatsoever, to, you know, portray the Prophet Muhammad. Again, not the majority of Muslims would not react violently, but there is a small percentage of hardcore radicals that would, and that stuff needs to be universally condemned. Universally.
Other than to reduce the gravity of the Prophet. Other than to reduce his gravity and his authority, and worst of all, potentially obscures the historical record of his example. Obscuring the historical record of the Prophet's example is a threat to all humanity. Therefore, mocking the Prophet should be silenced. Now, if you can, we can discuss the soundness of it, and we can discuss the premises. But if we can agree to its validity, I think we can also agree that Muslims shouldn't be characterized as fragile, not irrationally fragile.
Sure. Can I ask you directly? Do you believe that? Do you believe? So you are a practicing Muslim, correct?
Yeah.
Is my guess. So do you believe that the Prophet Muhammad is the key to mankind's salvation?
I do. Yes.
I do. So do you think, right, like that? Do you feel threatened when he is mocked? Do you feel like humanity is threatened when he is mocked?
Me personally?
Yes, you personally.
No, not necessarily. Okay. No, I don't. Not me personally.
So, being that you are a practicing Muslim, right? Being that you are a practicing Muslim and you share the faith, right? What is the difference between you and someone, a Muslim who would feel that way, who would feel personally threatened over all this?
Well, it's about the
it's
about the even slightest. It's not about fragility. It's about warranted or irrational, unwarranted fragility. If there's even the slightest chance that a inaccuracy of the Prophet crystallizes, then the entire concept of humanity, the entire faith, is threatened. Now, I might not necessarily think that Destiny's tweets in particular are threatening that concept or threatening the Islamic faith. But you have to understand that the Islamic faith is a faith from now, or sorry, from when the Prophet was conceived until the end of time. And so there has to be Islamically some logical structure to protect that. It's meant to be from the people, like talking about the prophet in the desert sands, to Destiny talking on Twitter, to the fucking humanity when we're all half cyborgs, and even after that when the apocalypse has happened and we're all back to sticks and stones. So even though I might necessarily personally right now feel threatened by Destiny's tweets, I can absolutely understand the logical chain which causes someone to make threats towards Destiny.
Do you feel that's justified?
So I mean, like, so to be clear, the argument that you've given me is valid, but to be clear, this syllogism could be given for literally anything. Like, here's the problem with this syllogism is, like, I feel like I could theoretically plug this into two different groups that would become incompatible in society. So for instance, if you say premise one, that Muhammad provides like this clear, obvious like example for how we should act, like I could theoretically provide like Jesus here, or whatever, I don't know what the main prophet Jewish people care about or whatever is, right? But like I could plug that person in there. And then for number two, where we talk about how your second part of your premise two, that mocking the prophet has no benefit, right? There's no reason to do that. Somebody might consider worshiping another god as being a vain act that is mocking, you know, their true god or their true prophet. Theoretically, I could poise these two syllogisms against one another, where they're equivalent, but they just have different like stand-in figures for who the prophet is in prophets 1 or 2. And then in that case, now I've generated both I've generated internally valid conclusions on both sides that now pits religious groups against each other in like violent holy wars. That's not acceptable to me. Yeah.
Sure, but that's why I specifically talked about mocking. What goal does mocking have other than to ridicule? There is no goal.
I mean, like, it depends on how you define mocking, right?
Yeah, well, and that's why Islamically you believe that you shouldn't, we can talk about the definition of mocking, sure, but Islamically you believe that we shouldn't mock anyone's gods. I think there's a phrase that specifically, do not mock their gods, in reference to the pagans, specifically because of this. Yeah, you shouldn't mock anyone's gods.
Okay, I mean, if you want to say that mocking is only making fun of, I feel like I've heard the phrase in religious context is like making a mockery of, could be like worshiping a false idol or worshiping another god. If you want to narrow that down in premise 2, then I mean, again, I guess I can accept that your syllogism is internally valid. Obviously, I'm going to fight on the soundness of it because I don't agree that Muhammad is a fucking whatever. But I would still reject that this is like a syllogism that should be embraced in society. But if you're
Wait, can I also say, if somebody has internal logic that makes sense within like any religious teaching or within a cult or with any group, that doesn't necessarily mean that that logic should be respected or should not be mocked or should not be poked at, and the flaws in it should be poked or anything like that. So even if internally in a group that logic could make sense, from outside scrutiny, it could still fall apart and then deserve to be mocked or deserve to be criticized. So I mean, like, I don't even know why we're spending time trying to figure out if the internal logic of Muslims reacting in this way, like, it makes sense or not. Because, like, it could internally make sense in the faith, but if it internally makes sense in the faith to make death threats towards Destiny, then that's a problem with the faith. And so if anything, I would not want to do what they're doing and trying to make it sound like it is internally consistent, because if that's the case, they're making Islam look a lot worse to me and a lot of people.
back up, I'm sorry, if you're only making the claim that the person isn't fragile, I would also fight on those grounds, because I think that if we're going to argue over the fragility of somebody, we're probably going to be talking about the soundness of an argument, not the validity, because you can make a ton of valid arguments that would make it so essentially nobody is fragile, right?
Sure, so we can discuss the soundness, and you might potentially, and you probably might, come to the conclusion that Muslims may still be considered fragile, from your perspective.
Can you calm down and watch? Dude, okay, this is something if you want to go and watch the debate and you don't want me to talk, then just go watch the fucking debate. Turn off my stream, leave, and go watch it on your own. I'm watching it in order to give my own commentary, okay?
But I think if anyone can, that argument is not necessarily to you. It's an argument is, if anyone can understand that and can reason with it at all, that's when Muslims shouldn't be considered as irrational. Well,
it's not about being irrational, but I'm saying that the reason why nobody should consider this argument is because then, again, by this argument, nobody is fragile, right? A trans person that gets misgendered and then wants to kill people, well, they're not being fragile. Like, when trans people are made fun of, it makes them kill themselves, right? So I could construct a syllogism showing that making fun of trans people leads to suicide.
So therefore you should make fun of trans people, sure.
Yeah, and that like people aren't fragile, but like again, I could I could construct a syllogism to make nobody fragile. Like literally nobody will be fragile at that point. So it kind of defeats the purpose of the word, right?
Please explain that again, how no one will be fragile.
Okay, give me an example that
I can understand how everyone might be fragile, but
Well, no, give me an example of like who could be considered fragile ever. Like for instance, let's say I go online and
Black
let's
people?
say, sure. So let's say that, So let's say that I say something like, oh, like, you know, fuck rap. I hate rap and the black people that made it. And then somebody online is like, oh no, fuck you. I'm going to kill you for saying that. And I go, oh, well, you sound pretty fragile. That person could theoretically argue, well, black people have been under attack in the United States for a long time. I feel like our lives are constantly under threat by white culture and by police. And by you engaging in criticism of us that's baseless and just a mockery, I feel like it puts us at threat. Therefore, no, I'm not being fragile. Like this represents a real threat to me.
I think you're missing premise one. Premise one says that, you know, that a Muslim, that the Prophet Muhammad is central to the Islamic faith. If someone believed that, a black person believed that rap was central to being a black person, then that reaction, that fragility might have more merit to it.
Well, it might. It doesn't necessarily have to be that the rap is central. I'm just saying that for premise one, it's just the idea that like making fun of any part of like black culture is necessarily like attacking all black people or something.
I want to ask, do we not think mockery, and this is a little bit of an aside, but I am curious, do we not think mockery serves a purpose? Mockery absolutely, in my opinion, would serve a purpose. Things that, some things deserve to be mocked. Some things should be mocked because mockery tends to make them less powerful. It tends to diminish their standing in society. Certain views are absolutely things that I would mock, and I would hope others would mock too, and make a mockery of. When we make things a mockery, we take away their power in a lot of ways. And I can understand, right, while you wouldn't want your belief structure or religion mocked because it does take away the power, we could imagine scenarios where there are other groups like Nazism or fascism or whatever that, yeah, that should be mocked because we absolutely want to take away power from them. What about you, Torontos? What do you think? Do you think mockery serves a purpose, or?
I mean, other than to disrespect and ridicule and inflame people, then I don't see any other use for mockery. But I would
I'll give an example of like somebody who's Islamic that would mock. If somebody is Muslim and they're coming out saying the gays are bad, the gays are the gays, like I would come up and I would mock them and be like, oh really? We have all this famine in the world and all the death and all the destruction and all this stuff, and your God is distracted by the fact that two boys decided to kiss each other. He's looking at these mass graves in Ukraine. And he's like, I'm not going to do anything about that, but I've sent one of my servants to deal with this boy kissing another boy. Get the fuck out of here. That's something that would be rightfully mocked, laugh in their face about it. Because, like, just logically, it doesn't make sense to care for God to care about that, number one, and for him to care enough about that you're spending time dealing with this instead of like all the famine, death, and destruction in the world. Like that's something that can be mocked and should be mocked. And I think mocking it is good because it does take away some of the power of that homophobia.
love to know.
Oh, I think there's a great purpose for mockery. Yeah, it's funny. It's fuck.
Yeah, but
no. Other than saying that it's funny, other than saying
humor is a really
hilarious,
big part of our lives.
What other justification is there for you posting what you did?
None. It's just funny as fuck.
So you're telling me you just woke up one day and decided, you know what? I'll decide to post this. I think it's hilarious.
We're getting an echo from you.
Me?
I apologize.
Is that the only reason that you did it?
Yeah, basically, it was hilarious. You said
is
it
it not
yourself.
because
You chuckled for it, right?
Because I couldn't fucking believe it. And I'll tell you why I couldn't believe it. Because I know you understand the consequences that come from disrespecting Islam. You've made fun of Sneeko for it. You've made fun of your friend for it.
Whoa, hold on. Let's be clear. No, yeah, I made fun of Sneeko for backing off, not for making fun of Islam.
Yes,
I made fun of
that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
You made fun of him because he backed off since people gave him a hard time for his mockery of the prayer, and he did the whole panel with the three Muslims and Young Don, and you made fun of him because ever since then, when the topic of Islam comes, he turns into a pussy. He doesn't even ask the logical questions that any Muslim would ask. So you knew the consequences that come from mocking Islam. So even with the knowledge that you had, you still went ahead and you did what you did. But all of a sudden, once you face the consequences, you turned into a pussy. And you.
Somebody just said this in gutter chat. Isn't all the war, famine, etc. viewed as a consequence of homosexuality? That's even easier to mock. Oh, really? People in Ukraine are dying because I kissed a guy. Like that's even funnier. Like just saying that out loud almost makes me giggle.
started to cry about Elon and how nobody's getting banned for coming at you. Now, how does that make any sense?
How does it not make sense? I don't think just because
Where's the accountability in that?
What do you mean accountability? I don't think the accountability for making fun of some religious people is that like people can make death threats that are against the TOS. I was just curious how nobody got banned. Yeah.
Make this make sense for me. If I saw 10 motherfuckers get smacked for saying the N-word, for example, or the S-word, whatever the right? And then I joined in line, knowing fully well each and every person that said it got smacked for it. And then I said it. Do I not deserve to get smacked? Just off of principle. Just off of principle.
No, I would say
absolutely.
No. But I don't believe in like violence for words. That's not a thing that I.
Do you never? Is that a principle, fundamental, Siam, that you stand by?
I mean, assuming we're not talking like making threats or something. Yeah.
No, we're talking pure mockery.
Yeah, for mockery.
So where does harassment factor into this? Where does an insult become harassment? And why is a harassment?
An insult can become harassment. An insult can become harassment very quickly, but I don't think you can respond to harassment with violence.
Ever? I mean,
well, no, I mean, I'm sure we could.
Wouldn't even.
Kratos, you gotta let him respond. Destiny's been addressed. Let Destiny respond. You will have your say, I promise.
Yeah, I'm sure in good faith I could probably think of like if there's some kid that's getting surrounded by like 4 people like outside a bus stop every single day and they're constantly insulting whatever, then maybe like I'm sure that we can think of some egregious forms of harassment if I'm being like super good faith, where maybe I could understand like a violent reaction, but in general, no, I don't think you ever respond to harassment or mockery with violence. No.
So we can agree. So it's not a principle that you have. It's not an axiom. You can respond with violence in some respects.
There might be some, if I'm being super good faith, but generally no.
You don't believe that you should respond with violence to any sort of speech, damn near all the time, if not like 100% of the time, right?
We could.
Are we just so Yankoid pilled that they just don't understand like the idea of somebody being like, yeah, no, violence is bad. We don't like violence in reaction to political speech. We don't like violence in reaction to jokes, especially jokes. It's jokes, you know? Like is that like difficult to like wrap your head around? Like, it's a pretty fundamental principle.
Think of some speech, like if somebody's like doing like a call to violence, for instance, or somebody's doxing.
Not a call to not a call to violence, not doxing. Like I said, like fucking degenerate, disgusting, heinous things.
No, degenerate, disgusting, heinous things should not be responded to. Yeah.
No, now hold on.
Deep fake porn of my child, my wife.
Stop, both of you.
Sorry.
Okay, stop.
No, okay, okay, I won't say it again. Okay,
You're physically incapable of stopping. I have to stop you, and this can't go on. Okay. I don't like to hit the mute button, but I will. Anyway, finish your question to Destiny, but then you gotta let Destiny answer. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, is Destiny an affirmative action, and is he black? Okay, you gotta speak up for him every 10 seconds. He's a grown boy, okay? He's a big boy. Anyways, the man said that he wouldn't even lay a finger on the dude that would do such a thing. Now, last time I said kill, right? And I could understand how, like, somebody could justify not killing. But you're telling me that even if somebody were to do that, you would not even lay a finger on them.
No, we have a legal system for that. It's how society's supposed to work. That's what makes us civilized and not savages.
But if the legal system does not respond,
no, Destiny,
you're comfortable in doing so, right? You're comfortable. Because when they didn't respond to the DDoS
what do you think?
The DDoS and all
the
that
DDoS
shit,
thing wasn't somebody just harassing you. It was somebody cutting off my income. They were causing me material harm.
Yeah, but you... Okay, you're telling me it's not harmful to have that type of shit all the time?
Material, money, property, stuff is being lost.
Problem is when it's material harm, it's very easy to like document like the amount of damage something does to you, right? But like if it's like somebody's emotions, like so what hurts my feelings is totally different than what hurts somebody else's feelings. When I see somebody call me a dirty like F slur in the replies, I've seen stuff like that so much that it's like, it doesn't really hurt me. But if somebody like goes, I'm not going to say exactly what, because I'm not going to give you guys exactly what you need to like actually piss me off. But like other things are going to actually piss me off and could possibly maybe even provoke a violent response from me in person if you said that type of stuff in front of me, right? So like, how do you measure that? How do you measure that to like be like, this was an okay amount of emotional hurt so they can be violent. This is a bad amount of emotional hurt so they can be violent. Like, where material harm, it's very easy to be like, this is the amount of material harm done. This is the amount that has been done wrong to this person. So this is the amount they should be replied to. This is the amount of help they should get.
That's the only thing you give a f about?
When it comes to responding with violence, yes. The only other thing to care about is your ego, which I don't think you can respond to with violence.
How the f is it? Okay, how the f is that example egotistical in any way?
Okay, Uzmark, go ahead.
Yeah, but Destiny, but how do you deal with the fact that your opinion is actually a minority view? Your opinion, your view is subjectively your own, but it's an extremist one. When you look online and when you look at research done on people's opinions on free speech, America, I think, is one of only a handful of nations in which majority of people think that insults and mocking other people's religion should be allowed. Like, how do you
I love this country. Like, you're asking me how do I score the fact that my country is very extreme when it comes to freedom of speech? Okay. I love it. That's
so would you stand by the accusation that 70% of people are uncivilized and savages? If that's your characterization, that responding with physical violence, be that by someone's own individual hands or by the state apparatus, is uncivilized and savage, wouldn't then 70% of the world population be savage?
I don't know how I would judge them based on my country's standards, right? When you're in a different country, you react in a different way. If I went to like fucking the UAE or Saudi Arabia and I'm supposed to wear some goofy fucking like getup or whatever, I do it as a respect for the culture because I'm visiting their country. It's not my country anymore. I don't have a right to say how they run their shit, right? I'm probably not gonna suck any dicks in fucking Dubai because I don't want to get thrown off a. Never mind. But like I'm just saying like in general, like when I'm in another country, when I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, I know I was gonna say that guy. I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
Wait, I don't know why Destiny's apologizing for that. The homosexuality laws in Dubai are absolutely god awful. I mean, like, can you get away with being homosexual in Dubai? Probably. If you do it in private, nobody catches you. But like the homosexuality laws in Dubai, I don't know why I pulled his punch on that. Like the homosexuality laws in Dubai, awful. I don't know if it's death penalty for Dubai, but okay. I think we're talking about the UAE, right? UAE homosexuality laws. Like we all remember, like when they were trying to do these soccer games over there. 1 second. Just same-sex activity, up to 15 years in prison and deportation of foreign nationals. This is terrible. De jure death penalty, but no known cases. Like the fact that it's even on the books is terrible. Like this is insane. Why did he pull his punch on that?
Just saying that I would respect their thing, but in my country, we have the right for things like hate speech. And if you think that you could be violent over that, then yeah, I think that's savage because that's my country and these are my rules in my area. Yes.
Because Twitter operates off of the rules in your country, right?
Because what?
Because Twitter operates off of the rules in your country, right? Twitter has to answer to fucking free speech, fucking.
Okay, so if someone, wait, I just want to.
They deny that happens later. If they deny that happens later, they're just liars. Do you know how many like queer like people I know in the Middle East who would like cross themselves, hope to die to get out of there, to just get out of there so they could live freely? Like how many are like are terrified of their parents finding out, or the law enforcement finding out, and or their community finding out, and then possibly being hate crimes? Like that stuff absolutely happens. I mean, it's different from country to country, the exact severity of the punishment. It's not like every country gets thrown off a building, right? But it is really bad.
I want to ask a question.
I mean, like
in another
for example, in Chechnya, which isn't in the Middle East. Actually, it's in Asia technically, but is it in the Middle? I don't think so. It's part. No, it's in the Caucasus. It's in the Caucasus area. But in Chechnya, like they have like torture facilities for homosexuals. They would like drag people off and torture them endlessly for being queer. Like it's horrific.
Country reacts physically to I don't know, whatever it be, mockery and insult, whatever. If someone in another country in which the laws of the state allow that to happen, are they then not savage and not uncivilized?
There's probably going to be like some fundamental like ethical principle that I'm going to say is savage no matter what.
That's what I'm getting at.
Sure.
That's what I'm getting at. It seems like you're appealing to legality and then putting to your own personal philosophy whenever it suits you.
Well, there are going to be some things that I think transcend countries. Would mocking somebody's religion, I think I would universalize that. I would say if you mock somebody's religion and then somebody attacks you for it physically, yeah, I would say I would always consider that to be, we can say
but
savage.
Then how do you deal with the fact that you're in a minority view? Worldwide,
I would just think I'm better than a majority of people, I guess.
Okay, fair enough. But then can you see how using your own personal minority and...
Well, not personal.
You could
careful, not personal. This is like a Western minority country, but so Western, yeah.
No, don't use the word Western, because when you look at it, Germany,
How about America?
Poland.
We use America.
Okay, I'll say
Yeah,
America.
America-centric. Okay, I
sure.
could. How would okay? You're using your personal chauvinistic. I would even go as far as to use that word, personal chauvinistic moral philosophy to judge the reaction of Muslims and people worldwide. Like, does that? Can you not see how that can be perceived as Islamophobic?
If this is what it means to be Islamophobic, I don't care about that label. I'll be Islamophobic. I don't care. I'm fine with it. If I have to respect somebody's right to get violent, if you mock their religion, and not respecting that makes me like Islamophobic, I'll be Islamophobic. I'm okay with that.
And by the way, remember, it doesn't hurt Destiny's pockets to be Islamophobic, but God forbid you label him as an anti-Semite. Then all of a sudden he's gonna switch up, because that would then affect his fucking pocket.
Careful.
Because, of course, the only
Anti-Semite
thing
usually implies hatred of Jewish people. I don't hate Muslims. I think I even made a tweet clarifying that. And I don't think, you can go through my tweets, but I don't think I've actually ever attacked Muslims. I think I'm usually shitting on Muhammad, his doll-playing wife, and then the Kaaba or whatever. I don't think I'm actually saying, like, oh, Muslims suck. I hate Muslims. They're dirty people, like Arabs are. Like Ben Shapiro made that tweet about how Arabs live in dirt or whatever, right? I don't think I've said anything like that.
It was like Palestinians or Arabs live in open, like I think it was Palestinians live in open sewage was the comment. I forget the exact line. He also wrote like an article in 2008 about the evil black heart of the Palestinian people that was super horrible.
So when you say I'm Islamophobic, I'm very specifically just shitting on the religion. I'm not attacking the people.
One of the tweets, just real quick, one of the tweets, do you have the tweet up? Mark, are you about to read it? Because I'll let you read it.
No, you can read it. But I was going to ask Destiny a question, but sure, go ahead.
No, ask your question while I get it up, because I do want to ask Destiny about one tweet where I think I'm going to be clear, but I think you did call Muslims violent and fragile.
He did, yes.
Read me the exact.
No, he's going to say only the ones that fucking hit you with the death threats.
I can pull up the tweet, but what he said was.
Oh, if you are making threats because someone was online, you are fragile and violent.
Yeah, I'm okay. I stand by that.
But he can. You is like it's ambiguous, right? He's not necessarily talking about Muslims, so fair enough.
And by the way,
wait, hold on. To be clear, that I don't think that sounded ambiguous at all. That sounded incredibly crystal clear. Am I missing something? Can you read that tweet again?
Clarify then for me.
Hold on, let me. Which tweet are you talking about? Yeah, read me the tweet.
If you are making threats because someone is posting a picture online, you are fragile and violent.
Yeah, I stand by that tweet.
By the way, it says the same man.
Wait, was that supposed to be the dunk? Was that supposed to be the dunkaroo? That is the most unbelievably like milquetoast tweet he could have possibly made. The thing, I've listened to Destiny dig holes for himself a lot over the last 3.5 years. Okay, he has dug a lot of holes for himself. That is nothing. That is nothing. Do you guys remember the taking off the condom arc? Are you kidding me? Like, this is nothing again. Not even near. Not even in the same ballpark. We're playing hopscotch in the playground. We're not in the jungles of Nam here. This is nothing.
That said, if you question historical facts, right, when it comes to World War II and certain things that happened in World War II, that would make you anti-Semitic. You just said anti-Semitism is when you hate Jewish people. But I specifically remember you saying this to Sneeko, that you would be an anti-Semite because of certain questions that could incite hate towards Jews. Or am I misquoting you here?
You're conflating a few things. I think asking questions about World War II is totally fine. Even asking questions about the Holocaust is totally fine. The problem is a lot of that line of questioning becomes anti-Semitic because it's not like, oh, I've got valid questions about the Holocaust, I'm wondering. It's, oh, the Holocaust didn't happen the way that people said it does, and the only reason we think that is because Jewish people control society and they're trying to use that to make us feel bad for them so they can run the world. Right?
What was the take off the condom arc? I don't want to. I don't know if I really want to revisit it. It had to do with like some stuff around consent, and if you got to find it out yourself, you got to do the digging. I'm not revisiting that right now. Nope, no siree, no.
Second line of question is,
okay.
Yeah.
Sure, and could you not see how your fucking humor, quote unquote, how your jokes about Islam is the same exact thing that Islamophobes that wish harm on Muslims in certain nations such as Myanmar, such as India, they use the exact same type of humor that you do, because I've seen it. I've interacted with those people and how it could lead to actual crimes against Muslims.
No.
Could you not see the connection there?
No.
How? So by simply, okay, so
Karatos, stop. Karatos, can you tell us the connection? Can you explain to all of us listening?
The Islamophobia in Myanmar is absolutely insane. Like actual like state-sponsored genocide and ethnic cleansing has been going on for like a while now. Not to mention it's literally led by a fascist military junta which overthrew the democratic government. Like it is crazy. I support the PDF, man. I hope they succeed in overthrowing it unironically.
Paint it crystal clear for us. What is the connection between jokes such as Destiny made and actual violence or crimes against Muslims? Please paint that picture for me.
As Uzamark stated, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is in the center of our faith. And you say alayhi salatu wasalam, come on. He's in the center of our faith, right?
Does he like get mad if you don't say that every time? Or I'm sorry.
No, I say it every time. By the way, I only have to say it once.
You don't. You only have to say it once.
Okay.
You only have to say it once, but I say it every time, specifically because I'm around you. Because you are the fucking demon, okay?
Okay, I'm just checking.
Here it is, right?
Is he a snow bunny thing? Or is that
Jesus Christ! What?
This right here is a vanilla gorilla. I don't trust him, right? I gotta be careful. But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing.
By the way, if I made any kind of comment towards you, you'd lose your mind, dude. Your turban would come flying off your head if I said
Make
something
all
like
the
that. Sorry, go ahead.
You're such a considerate person. You wouldn't hurt my feelings. Of course you are. I've seen your Twitter page.
Thanks.
But here's the thing, right? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is in the center of our faith, right? He's in the center of our faith. You disrespect him. You paint him in a negative image. You paint him in a way that lowers his image in the world. You make it much more comfortable for people to start disrespecting Islam as a whole, and we see it in.
Well, dog, he's an atheist. I believe he's dude. I've seen him, dude. By the way, honestly, I thought Destiny was more disrespectful towards that one during that one Christian debate. Does anybody remember this debate? Oh my God, I'm gonna do it. I can't believe I'm going to show this because this debate was vile. This debate was absolutely vile. I have it here somewhere. I think I saved it recently because I stumbled upon it again. Is it here or is it in my other thing? Please let me, please. I remembered to save it. Oh my goodness. I hope I remember to save it. Everybody remember that? Oh, I think I accidentally signed out. Oops. That didn't work at all. Oopsie doopsie. Let me sign back in. No, I need to enter my password. No. Oh, no. Does anybody remember the debate? Okay, the debate was Destiny was debating this guy. There was a super cut of it. It was like 22 minutes. It was great. Destiny was debating this one guy on like the New World Order or something. And then the topic of religion comes up. And he kept asking the other person whether or not, if God is all knowing, does God know what it's like to suck a penis? And the other guy just freaked out. He went berserk, like absolutely berserk. To me, that's a pretty like offensive question. Like, he's an atheist. He doesn't really respect any religion. And I feel like if you're an atheist and you don't respect religion and you think like religion brings like reactionary values and social values that you don't agree with, like hatred towards homosexuals or negative beliefs about a woman's place in the world, stuff like that. Yeah, it was BPD. He hosted it. Big Papa Fascist hosted it. Yeah. Not BPD. Big Papa Fascist. Yeah, he hosted it. That's what I always read Destiny as, which, I mean, I understand that position quite easily. And it's going to be very difficult to get him to move off of that.
In the West, we see it with Christians openly depicting Jesus in very disrespectful ways, and how Christianity itself has started to crumble, and why, and this is a fact that Destiny fucking despises and hates, why there's an incredible amount of conservatives and an incredible amount of red people / manosphere people that are embracing Islam. Now, of course, are quite a fucking few of them absolute grifters and are doing it only for clout, yes, but there's a great amount of people in the West. In fact, the fastest growing religion in the world is Islam, right? And he hates this embrace of Islam. And this embrace of Islam would become weaker if you start depicting our prophet in the ways that he did.
Honestly, I feel like more Americans have a worse view of Islam due to the terror attacks than they would if there was no terror attacks. And I feel like it's undermining the faith in the United States overall. So I really disagree. I disagree with like what would be beneficial for Islam, period. And that is not how you should be running a faith. And the idea that like the only way you can get people to respect your faith is by intimidating them, saying, if you don't respect my faith, I'm going to fucking kill you. Like, that sounds like probably a faith that should be mocked if that's the way you're portraying your own faith.
Can I ask one question real quick about that in terms of the God thing?
sir. Yeah.
Tristan, do you believe that God knows all things?
Yeah, absolutely. God is omniscient.
Does God know what it feels like to take a dick in the ass?
I mean, just again proving how demonic and
I'm just curious because you said God has knowledge of all things, right? Does
this? I mean, again, complete disgust, complete disgusting blasphemy coming, and it's not surprising.
Oh my goodness.
So, just curious.
That is right.
Do you think that things like killing the journalists at the comic people at the Charlie Hebdo place, or murdering that one teacher who showed the picture of Muhammad, do you think that these things are strengthening Islam or weakening Islam? Just curious.
This is a great question.
I don't think that they're doing
Impossible to
either.
prove.
Come on, where he's asking your opinion, because he wants to know. Because if you can say they're strengthening Islam, then you can make a internal argument for it. You don't want to do that, do you? Because that looks terrible.
How could I tell you that they're doing
That's
that?
impossible to prove, but you think it's easily possible to prove that by me showing a diamond pickaxe mining the Kaaba, that's actually directly causing harm?
But to clarify, there's no issue, no real fundamental issue with you posting meme pics of the Kaaba. The issue is specifically and quite concentrated on the Prophet itself. You can joke about the Kaaba, you can joke about X, Y, Z, but the issue specifically comes with the Prophet. And to go to your earlier point, it's impossible to say. It's impossible to say whether, if mocking the Prophet was allowed historically through 1,450, 1,500 years, however long it's been, if mocking the Prophet was allowed, whether that would have corrupted the faith.
Well, it seems like we can mock Jesus and all these other things, and Christianity seemed to be a pretty strong religion for a long time.
No. Actually, by 2050,
You think Christianity
Islam
is
will
cocked
be.
or whatever?
It is.
By the way, if his argument is that the way he has their form of Islam win is to stop everybody from mocking Islam, then all you're doing is giving the opposition the cheat code. Just mock Islam as much as possible, and then your faith will win and Islam will lose. Oh my God, don't give them the cheat code. Don't do that.
It is. By 2050, Islam is going to be the world's most...
Like, it's what is it? Wait, so does Islam and Muhammad work with it rules? You know the movie It, when they're like, I'm not afraid of you, I'm not afraid, and that's when it was defeated. Is that how Islam works? Like, once they start like just mocking them, he just no, and it like shrinks down and down until it disappears. Like, that's silly.
Most dominant world faith. Islam is only one of two, only one of two faiths that is growing, not just by birth rates, but by conversions. There's a net gain in conversions. So if we're using that barometer as as the threshold for whether this Islamic structure and jurisprudence in regard to mocking the Prophet is valid, or if it has merit, if it works, it seems to be yes. So I don't know, but
is that the reason why, or is it because Islam is in countries with way more fucking people that can be converted and everything else? Like,
no, it's
are there a lot of people? Are there a lot of people?
It's growing.
Are there a lot of people in the United States that are converting to Islam?
Yes.
Yeah, if you look at Pew Research, it's one of, I think there's Muslims and certain pagan religions. I think maybe I can find the thing for you. There's Muslims and one pagan religion that is growing. I just Googled real quick. So 2018, a Pew Research survey found that Islam gains about as many converts as it loses in the US. No, I saw a Pew Research that found that there was 3 million net gain. Let's see if I can find it. But that's just from 2018, so maybe yours is...
Perhaps recent. I don't know. I don't have any of these studies at my fingertips, but I think let's go. Let's just surmise.
Actually, Pew Research 2020.
Karantos, please.
Sorry, they were sounding goofy. I'm sorry.
Karantos, you are physically incapable. Okay, I will have to, I'll have to take measures. But for the purposes of the discussion, let's just.
What did that mean? That was pretty ominous and strangely sensual.
Grant that. Let's just grant that Islam is one of the fastest growing religions. Do you think
I can post it in the chat if you want?
Sure. Do you think that's that is enough, but in and of itself, to justify its existence or justify its rules? Because it's succeeding, it must be that its rules are the reason why. Do you think
it shows that the rules are effective.
Does it though? Right? Or is
Absolutely.
it effective in spite of the rules? Like, is it in fact effective in spite of these rules that if you otherwise didn't have, it would be even more effective? I just don't find that compelling. That's all.
Let me answer you first, Wick. One of the biggest reasons, if you were to look, and of course this was anecdotal, I'll give it to you, right? But if you were to look at the reason why a lot of people are converting to Islam, one of the things that they would tell you is that in spite of society pushing you one way, which is, by the way, the complete opposite way in which Islam stays in, right? Islam does not change. Islam does not fold. Islam does not deviate from what it was 1,400 years ago, from what the Prophet got himself. Islam is still the same religion, right? And in fact, if you were to look at Christianity today, and by the way, there's nobody on this fucking call that is more knowledgeable about Christianity than Destiny himself, as he grew up Christian.
Wait, no.
If you were to ask, what you also did?
I was
Okay.
I was a missionary for 2 years back in the day.
Okay.
I'm pretty...
So you're telling me when you see transgender pastors, you're telling me that is 100% in line with the Christian faith and teachings.
But you're doing the no true Scotsman
Wait, okay,
thing, right?
so-
Because there are Muslims in the United States that are accepting of gay people. I think Muslims are more accepting of gay people than the general U.S. population. But you're going to say, well, those aren't real Muslims, right? So
No. First of all, I will not say that. But second of all, I would say find anything in the deen itself, in Islam, that justifies their position. Their position is taken on because of the society that they live in. That is a liberal take. That is not an Islamic take. They cannot justify it using Islam. They can't.
I'll put it this way, Wick. Islam is one of the, if not the only growing religion in the world. It is going to become the most predominant religion by 2050, and it is the, if not one of the only religions that has such a strict adherence.
Okay, but let's be real. It's not because it's like winning like debates or winning arguments like out there like, hey, I've convinced everybody to become Muslim. A lot of it is just due to birth rates. If we're being real about that, like the birth rates in the United States are not skyrocketing. Birth rates in Asia and China are not skyrocketing. Also, where's atheism on that scale? Are we including atheism as a religion? I know atheism is increasing.
To making sure that the faith is not corruptible and such a strict adherence to its own internal laws. Like you can't say causatively that one caused that B caused A or whatever. You can't say causatively for certain, but there's a correlation there.
This is what I would say, and this is actually what I bet is what's probably going on, is most Western countries are predominantly Christians, and most Western countries are probably becoming more and more secular, especially across Europe. As nations become more developed, as people gain access to more things like knowledge and science, they tend to become more secular over time. So in these countries, Christians are probably losing lots of followers. I know it's happening massively in the United States, and I know that even Europe, especially places like Scandinavia, are way more secular than the United States. Now, in other countries, especially countries in Africa, especially countries in the Middle East, where there's more conflict, where there might not be necessarily as much development, you probably still have people that are joining the faith, or you probably still have people that are having more children or not being Islamic. And then in the United States, you're probably always going to have more people converting away from Christianity than converting towards Christianity, because I think 60% of Christians, or 60% of you are still Christians. So of course, those numbers are always going to be going down, and you only have to pick up a few Muslims to make net gains in the United States. That would probably be my guess. I could think of like
There's
data
net
points.
gains for Muslims worldwide, not just in the United States.
Yeah, but listen, this is what I'm saying. Let's say there's 1 million people in the United States.
I mean, net gains
900,000 are Christian, 500 are Muslim. Like, if you gain 500 Muslims and lose, 10,000 Christians, that's a huge gain for Muslims in the United States. That's what I'm saying. The United States is majorly Christian, so of course any gain to Islam in the United States is going to be like a net gain to Muslims.
I'm not talking just about the United States. I'm saying there's net gains through conversions worldwide. I'm not talking just this United States.
Yeah, but again, when you say worldwide, like all of the West that was largely Christian, those people are like leaving Christianity en masse, right? Very few of them are probably converting to Islam, and
Yeah, when you look at the United States, it's not that they're converting to Islam. It's that they're just becoming a-religious, agnostic, or atheist.
most of them are probably becoming secular. That'd be my guess.
But this osmosis that you're talking about can go both ways. Why doesn't it seem that Muslims are converting to Christianity?
I don't think anybody's converting. Well, there might be some Muslims converting to Christianity, but you're going to lose them in the overall numbers of people that are leaving Christianity, right? Because there are fewer Muslims in these countries than there are Christians. If you've got 1 million Christians and 100,000 Muslims, if 20,000 Muslims convert to Christianity, but 50,000 people leave the Christian faith, even with Muslims converting to Christianity, you're still having an outflow from Christianity because it's the predominant religion. That's like a statistical artifact.
True. Yeah,
So-
but I guess we're going to have to see. I'm going to wait until 2050 to see how the projections...
Also, keep in mind that if this is true, if what you're saying is true, you've actually given me like a really powerful argument for why I should be going harder on Islam in my tweets, because I don't want more people becoming Muslim, becoming Islamic. I think it's like a moral wrong.
Why, Dustin? Can you be
because I don't think I
why?
agree with any of the core tenets of most of these religious faiths, especially in regards to social issues, regards to like how women ought to be treated, with regards to how some of the more fundamentalist police are ran in some of these countries and their legal systems, with regards to like LGBT or social issues. Like these are things that I don't consider good. I wouldn't want more people being Islamic and having these beliefs.
Do you
Yeah,
think
we can talk about any of these issues if you want.
Do you think Islam is a violent religion?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Yep.
I don't like to when you talk about things like Christianity, Islam, when you got like fucking like billions of followers. I don't like to say the whole religion is violent. If Islam as a religion was violent, then there would be terrorist attacks hourly all across the world. It would be over. It'd be fucking like over all over in Europe and shit. But instead, we only see like a handful generally, or like I would be dead by now if Islam was truly like a religion of violence, right? So I won't paint anything with such a broad brush ever.
Okay,
Yeah.
Destiny, I want to ask you a question.
Pussy!
Destiny,
I'm back.
is it wrong to mock someone's parents
Hold on one
unsolicited?
second. Karantos, you're echoing too. Please stop that.
Am I?
Yes, you are. Go
It's
on.
through Uzmark's shit, by the way. I'm not echoing.
Your thing's lighting up.
I don't think it's mine.
Yeah, it's not Uzmark's. Karantos, yours the ones that's lighting up. But go ahead. Ask your question.
Yeah, Destiny, is it wrong to mock someone's parents unsolicited?
Is it wrong?
Trying to appeal to his morality. He doesn't give a shit.
Well, let me
I'm
just
just
think about it.
curious.
Is it wrong? Is it morally wrong to make fun of somebody?
Someone's parents unsolicited. Let's use that example.
I'd say probably. Yeah, it's probably mean. It's probably wrong. Sure. I'll give you a yes on that one.
Okay, why?
Probably being mean in general to people is probably wrong. You shouldn't be mean to people. It's not like a moral good for sure. If anything, it's wrong or neutral.
Okay, so then can you see where I'm going with this? Can you see how it's a moral wrong then to mock the prophet?
Sure, it could be a moral wrong to mock the prophet. We're not talking about whether or not something is right or wrong. We're talking about whether you ought to respond to it with violence and whether or not that's morally acceptable. So, for instance, I might say it's wrong to mock somebody's parents. That doesn't mean I think it's ethically acceptable to respond to somebody mocking your parents by being violent to them.
So if someone's committed a moral wrong, doesn't that entail then that there should be some comeuppance or some
Yeah,
sort
sure.
of...
Dude, I'm imagining like, okay, wait. Court is in session for the Obama joke offense 5,892 for the city of Los Angeles. Oh my God, what a terrible system.
Sure. But that comeuppance
retaliation.
can be making fun of that person. That comeuppance could be not talking to that person. Like, doesn't have to be violence. There's plenty of ways that we punish activity. Like, for instance, do we agree that telling lies is wrong? Right?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, of course. And then my next question is going to be like, should we hurt somebody for telling a lie? Do they have to get like physically punished for it? Like, probably not.
You see, it depends on like someone's own personal philosophy. But
Well, that question is.
I don't think,
same-
we can talk about this if you'd like, because you seemed interested in this. I don't think philosophically like should be much of a distinction made between emotional hurt and physical hurt, and I don't think it's necessarily wrong to respond to emotional hurt with a physical retaliation.
Can I jump in here for a minute?
Yeah.
The reason we have this disagreement, we've disagreed with this before, is because it's very hard to measure emotional hurt, whereas it's pretty easy to measure material hurt. You can measure how much money someone has lost. You can measure the value of the destruction to their property that you've done. You can measure how much damage you've given them in medical bills. All sorts of ways to measure these things. Whereas emotional hurt, right? Would not hurt me at all, right? Mocking my parents, mocking me, mocking my teeth and stuff like that wouldn't bother me at all emotionally. I'm pretty emotionally stable like that.
So
However,
what
there
you're
are very people, just let me finish. There are people who, if I simply looked at them wrong, would be deeply emotionally hurt by that. We cannot use people's emotions to measure harm, right? Or to mete out punishment for that, because it's just so unstable. Like there's no real level of measurement that we could use.
Yeah, so what you're talking about is like practicality, on the level of practicality, right? First, you're jumping a step ahead. First, I just want to talk in levels of principle. principally, if we could know, let's say we were like an omniscient being, or we're fucking 2,000 years in the future, you can plug some shit in someone's brain and you can understand clearly what is going on, what level of emotional hurt they're feeling. Philosophically, I don't think it's wrong to respond physically to emotional hurt. Can we agree on that, Wick?
No,
In
again,
principle.
I think there's a fundamental difference. I do. I think that again, they're just different things, and we can't equate them and make them the same, conflate them as I think you were doing. So I disagree on principle. That's all. I don't know what the rest of you think, because I want to get Karantos in here. Karantos, do you think that the emotional harm and physical harm are the same on principle?
I 100% believe that if somebody hurts you emotionally, you fully have the right to respond physically. Because, by the way, the vast majority of times where people are hurt is because more times than not, they were hurt emotionally to begin with. Somebody antagonized them in one way or the other, and they responded physically. That is how most of the world operates to begin with. And second of all, a lot of the times, our emotions and the way that we feel inwards and in our minds manifests physically.
Dude, I'm gonna be mean. It just sounds like he can't deal with just mockery, really. I mean, I don't know, man. It just seems like it is what it is in the age of the internet. Like, everybody's kind of adopted to deal with it. I don't think it's going away. How would you even how would this legislation even work? How do you
That is the little reason why people like you
I don't even know how do you actually manage this in society? Do you just tell people whenever something really offends you, you could just hit them, you know? Well, what if I say something well, what if somebody their religious beliefs really offends me? This could be different for everyone. This is such a none of this is actionable in the real world. So by that argument, Gutter Check can hurt Dylan and Site Chat for hurting our feelings. True, but your very existence hurts my feelings and the feelings of many Site Chatters. Isn't that right, Site Chat? So, kind of goes both ways here.
And people like Destiny are completely comfortable with people that have mental illnesses, that view themselves as something that they're not, and that actually go through surgeries and completely change their outward appearance, their physical body, to match with what's on the inside. So now, if you're saying that you shouldn't conflate the two, what would you say in those instances? Would you say that somebody who, let's say, is a male, a born male that transitions to female, would you say that they shouldn't change anything?
No one is doing that to them. They are doing it to themselves, and it's a fundamentally different thing. They are not having it done unto them. They are choosing to take upon that and do it to themselves.
So you're telling me if somebody is mentally ill and they're fucking cutting themselves, you shouldn't intervene whatsoever because that is something they're doing to themselves? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that's a fundamentally different thing than someone else taking their arm and cutting it. But how is it fundamentally different if they're both mental illness?
What?
Unless you don't believe that it's mental illness, that somebody genuinely believes that they're the other gender or the other sex, which they are not.
I'm not here to debate trans.
Yeah, I think we're getting a bit sidelined here. But Wick, I don't believe.
It doesn't make any sense when you say.
It feels like he was getting clobbered on this, so he wanted to pivot it to trans people. That's what this feels like.
You can't conflate the emotional and the physical. You do, and you justify it.
But you don't need to go to transgenders to prove that, right? We don't need to go to transgenders.
But it shows the hypocrisy in his logic, because he 100% justifies it when it's what his people completely approve of. He justifies it.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Yes, he justified. I'm sorry, did I miss something? Did Wick justify violent responses to emotional pain? Did Wick ever justify?
No, he's arguing against that. I'm trying to do that. Wait, Wick. Let's take the most extreme example, right? Let's say your mother's dead, right? She died in a horrific car accident. God forbid. Died in a horrific car accident. Let's say some psycho online got the picture. Somehow they leaked, right? He prints them off, and you're grieving. He stands outside of your house every day when you come back from work, talking about, oh, look at your mum, look at her guts all splattered on the floor, her head, like the most horrific shit possible. Do you really think it is not justified for someone to walk up to that guy and give him a fucking punch in the mouth?
I don't.
You really think? Never.
I don't think it's justified. Yep. But you're not going to get me on this. So I'm pretty consistent about this.
They both are. They'll just tell you, I don't care.
No,
You can do
Destiny
whatever you want."
actually. No, Destiny. I don't think Destiny agreed with that. I think Wick is more extreme on this
Probably.
than Destiny.
But
I mean, like, I think that you can make argument. Like, I'm saying this out of like real, like, insane good faith, because we're talking about hyper edge cases here. I think that you can make arguments for like a very personal type of relentless harassment. Like, if somebody's standing outside and they're screaming at you every single day with a picture of your like dead child, like holding it up and screaming at you, and then you could probably. But I actually think that in the United States is probably illegal. Like, that would actually probably be considered harassment, because you're moving beyond just like normal speech at that point. But like, where we are many levels removed from just shitting on somebody's like choice of religion on Twitter at this point. But
Yeah, no. So it's a matter of degree, right? Essentially, as
let
you
me
said.
ask you, Usemark, right?
Yes.
Usemark. Would you feel violence is justified if in that same scenario, instead of being outside my house every day, they simply posted a mean tweet about it? Do you think I should be justified to go to their house and beat them up for that?
No, I think
Okay,
there should
okay,
be.
so
Wait,
there
hold
are
on. No. Hold on. There, yes,
Don't
precisely.
don't
As
do
I was going to say, there are levels, right? And we, as a society, I believe, come together and we can agree. As you said before, like it's difficult to practically enforce any sort of like physical repercussions to something emotional because it's so hard to measure. Well, I think we as a society can come together and we can agree rationally that X thing, Y thing should have X or Y physical response. For example, that dude on Twitter, perhaps he should get a fine.
No,
perhaps.
no.
No, but you're in the minority.
I will be your.
Dude, I'm sorry. That's so bad. I'm gonna respond to that thing in side chat in a second. That's so bad.
I will be your.
The idea you find somebody because somebody said something offensive on Twitter. Oh my God, you're making a disincentive for speech. That's terrible. Unless they're saying something that should be illegal, we shouldn't disincentivize certain types of speech. That's terrible. Could you guys really imagine being like, yes, I feel comfortable giving Joe Biden the authority to figure out what is and isn't censorable speech, the fact that we should find that's a terrible idea. That's a terrible idea. Joe Biden, Donald Trump, anyone. Oh my goodness. What do you think of emotional bullying and anti-bullying legislation? They're just jokes, but I think it can lead to lasting harm. There's something you can do something about harassment. You can do something like in the school to deal with that. You can do something like socially to deal with that. You can like punish them in an institution for doing that. And platforms can have like policies to deal with that. I don't know if there should be legislation when somebody says like call somebody else ugly. Now you're gonna get arrested for calling somebody else ugly in the school, right? If it moves over into harassment, then the law can get involved. If it moves over into violent threats, or then somebody can get involved, that type of stuff. But besides that, that should be the school's job, not the job of the state. Could you imagine cops going into school arresting children for calling other children ugly? Do you know how mean kids are? We don't have prisons large enough for that. But thank you so much for the $5. I do appreciate it. I'm just saying, like kids are vicious beasts, man. I think every child I know would probably be in prison if bullying somebody else could get, or saying something mean about something else could get them arrested. Like, what would even be the line? For me, the line would be like the harassment line, but that's already illegal.
Enemy in this. That is not okay to fine people for speech like that, or to give them any kind of judicial punishment. The proper response is social censure.
That's what they do in England.
Why? But why is it wrong? He's intentionally causing harm. There is no motive. You can talk about, you can like quibble about, oh, maybe there's a reason why X, Y, Z. No, but if someone is intentionally and purely just wanting to cause you harm,
being mean
just wanting
on Twitter?
being mean can fucking hurt. It hurts.
sorry.
There is no.
I understand.
We have online harassment for a reason. People commit suicide over that shit.
And it can be bad, right?
But when it's
Really
bad,
bad.
they don't care though. That's the problem. Because it's something that you do onto yourself, right?
So someone is.
Can close the laptop. I mean, I'm sorry, but you can close the laptop. You can put down the phone. If it moves over to harassment, get the law involved. If not, Like, you gotta like deal with it in society. Like, there are mean people in the world. Are we gonna make being mean illegal? Is that the is that the law? We're outlawing all meanie pants. We're gonna arrest every single meanie bobini in the world. Okay, we're gonna do SEAL Team 6 is gonna be doing raids in the Middle East like 1,000 years in the future to take out the top troll on Twitter.com and assassinate him. Urbanos. Currently, schools have no proper mechanism to often make things work. There's also almost no way for schools to properly track or follow up. You mean track or it's outside of schools? Okay, it's one thing to like manage a school system or manage like maybe after school programs and trying to monitor that stuff, but getting the law involved to arrest children because they were mean to another child, it's just, I feel like it'll just make the situation worse. Like, what you've done is you've taken somebody who may have just been said a mean thing about another child, and you've now criminalized them and put them in the criminal justice system. I mean, I feel like you're going to end up producing worse outcomes. You're probably going to make them more mean, if I'm being for real. Like, I do think that this requires a solution, but I don't think the solution is criminalization.
Someone is doing something bad, but there are no repercussions for that person. There is no like.
You say no repercussions. I'm saying no legal repercussions.
Give meanies a criminal record. Exactly. That's it. Soy Jack. Yeah, exactly.
There's a difference between these statements. I think there should be repercussions. They should not involve the legal system, because that will be weaponized. That will be weaponized by the state to a politician, and we see this in the SLAPP laws, anti-SLAPP laws, and things like that, where politicians will sue the fuck out of reporters because that person hurt my feelings. They caused me harm for reporting on that thing I did, and so now I'm going to sue them into the fucking ground.
Sure,
and give them like legal ramifications for what they've done. This is why we have to keep speech away from the legal, like we, except for in extreme examples like threats to violence, immediate calls to violence, and things like that. I'm very against it. But we're moving away from the topic. We can still stay on this.
No, I think this is rather important actually, because it goes to the heart of the discussion, really. So if, for example, I'm an individual and I'm being harmed by someone's tweet or someone's words, why can't I appeal to the state to intervene and help me? Why isn't it? It's the state's responsibility.
You don't have to read that person's tweet. You don't have to go around and seek out things in the world that offend you or upset you, and then ask the government to regulate those things. That's an insane position, in my opinion.
Why? If someone is out there intentionally trying to harm me, trying to do me harm, why isn't the state?
Because we have a greater value on people having the right to say the things that they want to say, even if some people might deem them offensive, more important than the right for somebody to avoid having hurt feelings. The reason why we have those same freedom of speech laws is the only reason why a religion like Islam can even exist in the United States, right? So I think that it's important to defend that principle of free and open speech, because we don't want people, I don't want Donald Trump telling me what I'm allowed to post on Twitter. You guys probably wouldn't want Biden or Obama or Hillary Clinton telling you what you're allowed to post on Twitter. I think that principle is probably worth protecting more than somebody's hurt feelings.
So what do we do then when we have two conflicting, fundamentally different positions philosophically? What do we do?
The intolerant one gets eliminated. That's what you do. You can't have people that exist in a liberal society saying that we can kill people for saying things that make us upset. That's fundamentally incompatible with a free and open society. You just can't have it.
Do you disagree, Kratos?
Of course I fucking disagree, because he's the one who decided who's the tolerant and who's the intolerant one.
That's not true. I'm not saying anybody here should be attacked for their things they say on Twitter. You're the ones that are deciding that.
You're the one who went out of his way to purposefully, mind you, antagonize a whole bunch of people.
Good. I have that right to be antagonistic. That's my right as an American. Some people would say that you being Muslim is antagonistic towards them in the United States, especially post 9/11. People feel that way.
Last time I checked, you're not fucking Dikembe Mutombo. That is an incredible reach that you just did there. Because what you did and what somebody else who would just think my existence as a Muslim would be harmful to them are completely different. You purposefully went out there fully knowing that you want to antagonize people. If you're telling me that you just did it based off of humor, then tell me the humor in saying prepubescent be upon him.
Because it's fucking funny. It fits the what do you call the 4 letters or whatever?
So and it's funny to you.
It's funny to a lot of other people too. Apparently,
it's humor.
It does pass as humor. It's pretty funny.
People.
So what do we do
share the
then?
same ideology.
What do we do when we have someone such as Destiny? Or you could replace it with
Polish internet, I'm very sorry, man. Okay, it's only gonna get worse when I cross the border. So you gotta get used to that, chat. Okay, dude. We're gonna be like on the front line with 2 pixels. This is gonna be 2 pixels, and my stream's gonna sound like constantly. It's gonna be terrible.
I don't know, someone insulting anyone's parents online en masse. Let's say he's insulting thousands of people's parents en masse, causing harm en masse, and people don't have any avenue to I don't know, address it. There's a harm being done. As Destiny, as Destiny.
What do you think the block button is? There's an avenue. Like, oh, you don't want to see what someone says?
Why
Block.
should they have to?
Boom. What?
You know what's insane? No, 1 second. No, wait. Before you guys go down this rabbit hole again, the fact that out of all people on planet fucking Earth, Destiny is the one who brings up pedophilia is fucking rich. By the way, I'm sorry. Like, I just want to stop there for a second. He's the same fucking man that knowingly platformed a fucking pedophile. And by the way, this is not according to me. This is according to him. What's his name? Max Carson, Mr. Girl. And you defended him day in and day out. But the moment that he came at your fucking ass, and the moment that he decided that he wants to fucking...
I don't even know what he's talking about. I have no clue. I do not remember Destiny defending pedophilia or Max being pedophile. Like, I don't remember any of this.
Go through your life and reach out to every single person that you've known in the past fucking decade. That is when you suddenly decided to switch your tone on him and you decided to call him a fucking pedophile, a fucking rapist. But when you were friends, you defended him tooth and nail against every single accusation that was levied against him. So who the fuck makes you the arbiter of morality? Who the fuck makes you the person who knows right from wrong? Since when were you put in that position to tell somebody, no, you do not have the right to react in a way that I do not deem fit? When I purposefully go out of my way to disrespect something that you hold closer to your heart than anything else on this planet. How the fuck does that make any sense?
Are we relitigating like every random thing that's ever happened in my life, or what?
No, because it has...
Also, I don't think I've never called Max a pedophile. Also, to be fair, I'm pretty sure that movie Cuties, if you're referring to that, wasn't that made by a Muslim woman?
Again, by the way, it was made by the exact Muslim woman that you would consider an ally in the West, that you would consider tolerant and liberal. That is the exact same type of Muslim that made that movie. A French woman, by the way, L to the fucking French, right? But here's the thing. Let me just say this real quick. I do not bring it up out of the blue. I bring it up to just show the fact that you, not only in the past year or two, but in the past decade, and by the way, as a
the blood from my head just rushed to the rest of my body, man. I almost passed out. That was brutal.
35-year-old man, you cannot get away with the argument of this was in the past, I changed. As a 30-year-old man, as a 27-year-old man, and mind you, I'm 23. And if I said the same type of fucking shit that you said in the past, you and your fucking people wouldn't want to see me anywhere online.
What do you think? What do you think I've said in the past? It's so beyond the fucking pale. What?
You said that child porn is justifiable, morally justifiable, because it stops people. Your argument was that it stops people from offending.
Okay,
certain research shows the fact that child porn.
You gotta learn to respond to each of these, so you can list them. But
in one conversation where I argued in favor of the age of consent, which I'm guessing you're probably opposed to, because it probably would cut off all of the marriages you approve of. In that conversation, we were having a discussion on whether or not there could be. Wait, what do you think the age of consent should be for marriage or consummation of marriage?
I believe the age of consent should be based off of whichever country that you're in.
Oh, okay. So what do you think the lowest should be? What do you think the lowest should be?
Follow the law. Follow the law.
So if the law of the land was 9 years old, would that be okay for you?
So you're telling me
if the law of the land was 9 years old, would that be okay for you? If the law of the land was 9 years old, would that be okay for you?
One single place.
If the law of the land was 9 years old, would that be okay for you?
A hypothetical that you just made up wouldn't make any sense, because in this day and age,
if the law of the land was 9 years old, would that be okay for you?
So you want me to answer, so you want me to give you a yes or no because that's what you're capable of comprehending?
Yeah.
No, I would say that no, because collectively as a society, we have come together and we have acknowledged the fact that that is not what we are going to do in this day and age, and trying to use the whole presentism fallacy and trying to apply today's outlook on age of consent to 1,400 years ago makes you look fucking retarded. But you know what?
So then just to be clear, Just to be clear, then you disavow like all forms of like child marriage and shit that might be happening, and
Like, oh, okay, let me be for real. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years ago, it was still not. It wasn't normal. I don't even think to like find a 9-year-old attractive. Like, I don't think it was ever that. I don't think that was ever like. I don't think that's ever been physically normal for a person to be attracted to 9-year-olds. I don't even think that's like an evolutionary trait. You know. Not like, isn't it like, you know, the idea is like wide berth and hip, like there's certain physical traits of like an adult woman would have that like men are supposed to be attracted, like you're like, it was never normal to be attracted to a child, I don't think. And you know, putting that aside, that would, the 9-year-old, 10-year-olds is nasty no matter what age or what time it was, 100%.
any other country in the world today, right? Yeah.
Today, absolutely, 100%. But let me ask you this real quick. What do you believe that? By the way, what a fucking retarded question. You fucking knew the answer to that. It's not like
I had no idea. I didn't know you were gonna come here and justify to me violence in exchange for tweeting funny pictures. I didn't know you were gonna do that today.
What sort of violence did I justify? I told you that if you talk shit, you deserve to get fucking banged. You deserve to fucking get one hit to the face. And I believe that applies to me and to anybody else that goes out of their way to be disrespectful in the name of humor.
Cool. I didn't know you were going to justify that, so I didn't know what your position on child marriage is.
Sure, but did I justify death threats? Because again, when you say violence, all of your fucking retarded fan base would confuse it with death threats that you've been receiving. Now, did I justify those?
I heard you loud and clear. You said getting punched in the face. I didn't think you were going to justify that, and you did. So I'm just asking your other positions. I was just curious. You don't have to get upset.
It's okay. Surprises, I should say. Let me ask you this real quick. I'm not upset. I promise. One more question, and we could go to Uzmark. Absolutely. What do you believe that the age of consent should be?
I think like 16 to 18 is probably okay. It's where most countries have it set.
So 16, and that's based off what? Just based off what other countries have.
Is that what we're debating now? Or are we debating what the age of consent should be? Are we going to say that the age of consent is a moral relativist position? In some societies, you can be 6 and you can do something. In some societies, it can be 18. Is that what we're doing now? Why? Why? This is terrible. You should want to pivot out of this area of discussion like 100%. Why?
Have it set?
Seems to be like a generally okay age for when a person is developed enough to understand the ramifications of sexual behavior.
So you're telling me a 16-year-old is fully capable of raising a child and is fully aware?
It's gonna be some 16-year-old, like I would say, like most 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds. Once you get in that age range, they're getting to an era where they're physically developed enough, mentally developed enough, where it's a real likely possibility, and that's why that they are prepared to do something like that. Not necessarily all of them are going to be, but it's going to be like of a much higher percentile than somebody is 6, because you're not even physically ready at that point. You don't even like people get hurt if you start doing stuff at that age, not only mentally of course but physically.
Aware of the consequences of having sex out of wedlock.
I think you're old enough to have a general awareness. Yeah. Fully aware of all the consequences of everything. I mean, I don't even know if the average like 22-year-old is aware of that, but
yeah, that's based off what? By the way, when you say they're generally aware, that's based off what? Is that your opinion, or is that any sort of research that has been peer-reviewed or anything of that sort, or is that just what you believe? Is that what you believe?
Are we asking for a source, Karantos? Are we going to do that?
I'm just curious because this man worships sources and peer-reviewed studies, so I just want to know what comes from his heart and what comes from what another man has told him.
I mean, so that's generally like when a kid is like out of high school, when they're moving out on their own to go to college, when a person is generally, they've gone through puberty a little bit, they've had feelings and explore them with other teenagers or whatever. It's about that age. That seems like what most countries agree on right now. So I'd say about 16 to 18, yeah.
And by the way, and again, you could tell me, hey, this was when I was a young 29-year-old. I completely changed my mind. But you've previously said, listen, people mature at different ages. People grow up at different ages. So would you 100% be comfortable with a 14-year-old, a 13-year-old that is fully mature, that is equally as mature to a 17, 18-year-old in this day and age? Would you be comfortable with them?
Theoretically, you could probably find 25-year-olds that aren't that comfortable, that probably could be having sex, and you could probably find 14-year-olds that are comfortable enough. Yeah, that's probably possible. But right now, we've got the law set in the United States at 18 years old because that's our hard cutoff.
I did not ask you about the law, Destiny. Don't let him get away with it. You're being a pussy. You're being a pussy.
You've gone down this road. We're not.
He didn't
going
fucking
anywhere.
answer it. He didn't answer shit. I asked him. I didn't ask him what the law states. I asked him if there was a 13-year-old that
He
is
said
mature enough.
16 to 18, and he.
No, I asked him, and his explanation was because of maturity and such. And I asked him if there was a 13-year-old that exhibited those levels of maturity and understanding and was able to go out into the world on her own and do whatever that she needs to do. Would you be comfortable with her being married?
So is this just like an Islamic fundamentalist version of infrared? Is that what we've discovered here? Is that what Quatos is? Is that what Quaalude is? I don't know his name. I don't know how to say his name. I don't want to mispronounce it.
Off to some 25-year-old and having a kid with him. I didn't ask about what the law states. I asked about his opinion. He didn't ask me about the law.
The problem is that we don't have a way. The problem is we don't have a way to determine that, right? We can't determine whether or not a person has reached that level of maturity because we don't have a sufficient battery of tests we can run somebody to figure it out. That's why we have the law set where it is. That's why the age of consent or the age of majority or signing contracts isn't done after taking a test. It's just kind of a blanket age. There are some people that probably can't consent to sex at 19, 20, or 21, or shouldn't be signing contracts. But that's just the rough age that we kind of settled as society for being proper.
Thank you. No, thank you very much for saying that. So you're basically admitting to the fact that it is just set there as a collective decision by the most of the world, and it actually doesn't make any sense for it to be.
I didn't say it didn't make any sense. I said that's about the age that kids are getting. Like, for instance, if we lived in a society
But you just said we can't test it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not allowed to talk. If we lived in an age where at 12 years old you were done with school and then you immediately go to a farm and you start farming and like raising families or whatever, I imagine the age of consent in that society probably would look a lot different than the age of consent today where you're in high school till you're 18, right?
Even in those societies, the mental preparedness for that type of activity, the knowledge of exactly what you're doing, and the physical readiness for that type of activity, like there's still like a certain like area where it's gonna be appropriate, where it just like there's still like a certain level, like around 16, 17, 18, that it's still. That's like the best place for that to start. Like there's never going to be like any society where 6 to 7, 8-year-olds, like it's okay to do that. 9, 10-year-old, that just doesn't exist because it is impossible for them to be mentally or physically ready at any statistically high rate, if at all, probably not at all, at that age.
Okay. I'm having to mute every time.
No. Okay. Thank you. So why wouldn't you take that level of consideration for societies 1,400 years ago when it comes to the prophet?
Because I'm pretty sure the translation. Because I'm pretty sure the.
What was the standards of the time during the age of the prophet that made it so you had to shalank a 9-year-old? I don't believe it was like, well, you know how camels have to store water in their back. There's no explanation where it's like 9 years old. That's the best age for somebody to get shalanked in Muhammad's time. Like that. No, I refuse to believe it.
Translation for the prophet Aisha was literally that she was a little girl that he played dolls with. The specific Arabic used to refer to her was that of like a small adolescent child, not just a mature person that was 9 years old. Number one, and number two, that word is important. And number two, people today try to use that to justify child brides, which I think is really fucking funny.
No, Walker, great.
Stop. I want to let
This is
I
just want to say one thing. I just want to say one thing to the prior conversation, just one thing. You can't use one word, one phrase, one line from a hadith that she was playing with dolls to like somehow like indicate her moral like mental faculties. Like you get fucking 25-year-olds these days that play with dolls. Like it's a big thing. Like you know, like.
He can't be serious. I thought he was gonna say like, oh no, that hadith is actually disputed. Some people don't think it should be included, but instead he was like, nah, she was just a doll hobbyist. You know how some and she went to the local club with all the other doll hobbyists. She was collecting anime figurines. Get out of here.
The doll community is deeper than you might imagine, actually.
That was me, mean he actually meant it. Get out of it. Nah, I don't. I refuse.
So yeah, you can't use that. That's just there is far too little evidence for us to try and like ascertain her mental state. Yeah, but
No. I'm not just talking about the Hadith they're playing with dolls, but I'm pretty sure in Arabic the specific word used to refer to her was the word used to refer to like an adolescent child, not some like we would say, for instance, like I wouldn't say I married a little girl, I would say I married a woman, but that the Arabic used to refer to Aisha is the Arabic that you use to refer to little children. Not to an adult grown woman, not a matured woman, not a precocious woman.
I've never heard that, but I'll have to check that. I've never heard that.
Because he's talking about
I've never heard that, to be honest. But,
but let me say this.
I'll inquire about that. No, but okay, go on. But then I want to say something.
No,
we can move on. No, we can move on. No, we can move on. Just last statement.
Stop. No. You can get to it after Uzmark. Uzmark's sitting here very patiently. He's been very respectful of the moderation team.
By the way, my editor just informed me that I cannot get this video monetized. So if anybody wants to donate or sub to this channel, I appreciate it. I was like, wait, really? And then I thought about the topic. Like, yeah, no way this is getting monetized. Coca-Cola does not want to put their ad on this video. Oh my goodness.
Team, so I'm going to give him.
Or if you're listening on YouTube, I have a Patreon, DylanBurns TV on Patreon. You should go check it out. Helps me do my journalism in Ukraine.
A little extra time here. Go ahead, Uzmark.
No, to wrap up kind of what we were talking about when we were the fundamental differences in freedom of speech. How do I pronounce your name, by the way, mate? Koranotos?
Just call me Q. Like Q ain't on.
Yeah, Q said a phrase that I found important. He said that Destiny and Wick, more so Wick to be honest, are acting as moral arbiters when it comes to this issue of violence in response to words, insults, however you
and morality. Yep.
Yes. Yeah, they're acting as moral arbiters, right? And we're at a fundamental impasse. There's no, if Destiny or Wick say, no, it is fundamentally wrong to ever respond violently to a word, a phrase, or an insult, and another person say, oh, no, it is okay, there's nothing we can do, right? There's no, nothing we can really appeal to if it's a fundamental core belief. So I think it's important to point out, right, that the majority of people globally,
Hey, look at that. I made $2.50 from this reaction. Really raking it in. Crabs go pinch. Most Muslims aren't like this, I hope. Oh, absolutely. Let me be for real. Most Muslims that I've ever met, none of them have ever said something like this. I remember when I was really young and stupid and I didn't really understand religion, I would even go to them and like start asking them very ignorant questions about like, I heard this thing on YouTube. Like when I was like, I don't know, like 14 or something, and it was really stupid. I didn't really understand. And I always got a very very nice, respectful response, or they just like ignored me. And it was like, so I could say from being that stupid person when I was really young, the vast majority of Muslims do not react this way, at least in my experience in my country. Obviously, I do not have the same social experience all around the world, but in the United States, at least, there's just no comparison.
Worldwide are not on Wick and Destiny's side, right? The majority, they are in the minority. They are in the minority.
So if the majority of people did think like this, then like something would have already probably happened to Destiny by now. But he's right there, so he's fine.
Minority is the extreme view, and so I think it's, as I said, chauvinistic, and it is insular in a way.
So white superiority complex right there.
It is superiority complex. It really is. There is no way to adjudicate whether one is wrong or right, other than appeals to majority. I believe when it comes to like, if you're a moral anti-realist, if there is no fundamental basis to your moral.
Most of my beliefs are better than the beliefs I do not hold. That's why I hold those beliefs. I hold those beliefs because I think they are better than the beliefs I have rejected. Yes, I mean,
majority of people think.
That's a pretty based Wick response right there. I gotta be honest. Thank you for the 100 bits, JH. I appreciate it.
Fundamentally different. No.
You hold beliefs that you do not think are better than other beliefs?
I hold like, that's why I'm a divine command theorist, because I don't have to wade through all this moral anti-realism.
You know what that sounds like to me? I didn't want to think too hard about it, so I just said God. I'm sorry, that might be cruel, but that's what it sounded like from my perspective.
I hold beliefs because I believe morality comes from God. I think that's the only way to adjudicate these fundamental differences in philosophy. Other than that, I believe the only way you can adjudicate them is through appeals to majority. And the majority of people believe that responding physically, whether that be through personal, like physical acts, or through the state apparatus, is valid and is justified. So given that, like, all I have to say is that the majority of people disagree with you. And I would to Destiny's tweets about the violence. The majority of people, when you categorize people as violent responding to words, the majority of people disagree with you. Majority of people wouldn't categorize people as violent in responding to words, pictures, or phrases.
Especially when no violence has been committed whatsoever. Clearly, the man is still healthy and alive. I mean, healthy to a certain degree.
Yeah. So anyway, so that was my main That was my main issues with Destiny's tweets, was his characterizations of Muslims as fragile and his Muslims as violent. And I think, as we've discussed here, like, I think Destiny acquiesced pretty quickly that given that Muslims aren't necessarily being fragile.
No, I would say they're fragile. I didn't acquiesce to that. I countered that argument saying that by your definition, literally nobody would be considered fragile. But I reject that, obviously, because I think some people are fragile. And I would say that wanting to attack somebody for attacking your religion makes you fragile, in my definition, in my world.
In Destiny's world.
And in America. Peace be upon it.
But as everywhere else in the world, globally, the majority...
Let's look at the child marriages in America. How about that?
In America, sure. But worldwide...
The land of seculars and liberals.
Yeah, worldwide, Destiny is in the minority opinion. Worldwide, yeah, that's pretty much it. I think we can sum up to say is Destiny is a fringe. Destiny is the extremist here.
It's okay.
Looking up the countries with the highest rate of child marriage, it seems it's Niger and Bangladesh. Bangladesh has the highest rate of marriage involving girls under the age of 15. Niger has the highest overall prevalence of child marriage in the world. South Asia is home to almost half of all child brides worldwide. India alone accounts for 1/3 of the global total. Jesus Christ. Oof.
Just because you're an extremist doesn't mean you're wrong, though, right?
I mean, I'm in like the most powerful nation.
So when we say extremist position, it's not an extremist position when like 25 to 30% of the world's geography holds a position somewhat similar to this, at the very least from what I know about the world. But I wouldn't even say that. I would go further than that. I think most people in most countries, if you'd ask them, do you think someone should get a violent response for mocking the Prophet Muhammad? I think they would say no. They said that Muslim is a growing religion, but it's not the #1 prevalent religion. If you ask most people about like mocking the Prophet Muhammad, whether they should come with a violent response, they would say no.
I think if you're a moral anti-realist, if you're in the minority, you are wrong.
Wow.
I think I guess it would come into.
I think what people held the biggest problems with was not the fact that he posted the cartoon or the Minecraft thing about the Kaaba. It's about what he said about the Prophet, and I've addressed it clearly here, and he has no argument against it, of course. Unless he has an argument that I did not hear, by the way. Wait, let me just get this out real quick, right? The fact that Al-Quraysh, which was the pagan majority in Saudi Arabia during the time of the Prophet, did not give him any hard time or any flag. By the way, these are the same people that wanted to kill the Prophet. These were the same people that went out of their way to disprove Islam. They tried their best to and would attack the Prophet at any chance they get. They themselves never took a single jab at the Prophet for his marriage to Aisha radiallahu anha, right? And that is because back then
Kevin has donated $20. IDK what happened to my account name, but love you, buddy. Keep up the good work.
Hey, look at that. Now I've made enough money to cover the fact that this video will be demonetized. Thank you so much for the $20. I don't know what happened to my account name, but love you, buddy. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for the $20. I'm going to go spend it all on fast food like a average 22-year-old clown. But no, for real. Thank you. I appreciate it. It'll go towards my journalism.
That society, what the Prophet did was completely 100% within the norm. And Destiny himself said, hey, within certain societies today, there may be people that are mature enough based off of how their society is, that they could be able to marry and have kids based obviously when they hit puberty. But let's say even if that were to be 13 years old, that would make sense for them.
Do you think there are some 9-year-olds that you could marry and have sex with?
No,
There are some 6-year-olds?
you're the one who made that argument.
I'm just curious. What do you think? Do you think there are 6-year-olds that you can marry today? They're mature enough for that?
Wait, you're telling me? Okay, you're telling me there are.
Hey, thank you, Anon, for gifting a tier 1 sub to, what is that, D-Gent-Man? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Whoever you are, you anonymous fellow, we'll never know.
6-year-olds right now.
Oh, I'm
that go
asking
out
you,
into
are
the
there?
world. They don't exist.
Oh, okay.
But you're the one who said that there could be 13-year-olds that go out there. 13-year-olds that
We're circling the drain on this one. Is there any other critiques that you had other than his characterization of Mohammed or as of the tweet about fragility or violence? Is there anything else that you had a problem with that Destiny has said or done that you would like a chance to talk to him about? Because now is your chance.
I would think it's important to understand the context of Islamophobia when we're talking about this. As I said, it's an issue that frames this whole discussion. I think it's not insignificant. If you look at the studies, the stats, the reports, it's somewhat in the US, I would say, comparable to anti-black racism. In the US, Islam is second most only to Jewish people in terms of hate crimes. In the UK, it's skyrocketed recently. And it's important when people are making, like Destiny has, claims such as I know he didn't say Muslims specifically when he made that tweet, you are violent if you respond to X, Y, or Z. But when we look at the context of the tweets, it's easy or very easy to misinterpret what he's saying. And that is contributing to this. It's a dangerous thing, Islamophobia. It is causing harm to a significant amount of people. And if you care about racism, you should also care about the Islamophobia that Destiny could be contributing to.
I agree. I think it's bad. I don't think it's good. Do you also condemn the fact that a lot of the violence that's caused in countries like Sweden are done by Muslim-majority immigrants?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's a problem too. But I mean,
what is the relation? What's the relation? Yeah. Can you explain?
Well, I was just curious you were consistent on the issue. I don't condemn violence against Muslims. It seems like a lot of them are supporting violence. Or I'm sorry, I don't support violence against Muslims. It seems like a lot of them are supporting violence against me online. I don't support people that are attacking Muslim people. That's why I haven't attacked Muslim people. But in the United States, it might be in the minority here. I don't care. I don't care if there are some people that are going to get hatred because I'm attacking a religion. That's on the people doing it. In the United States, we don't use some people commit violence as an excuse to condemn.
He has to remember, like earlier, he was bragging about how much Islam is expanding and growing. And there's people in the call right here who were talking about how they're angry about the trans Muslims and stuff like that. So there's going to come with that possibly some homophobia if it doesn't happen in societies that have this more, I would say, progressive, more liberal way of looking at faith, looking at secularism, that leads to trans Muslim being able to exist, that leads to gay Muslims being able to exist because gay people exist, therefore they shouldn't deny who they are and just hide in the closet for their whole lives. And so if this way that they're asking for, like, because he was talking about like who's a true Muslim, who's the fake Muslim earlier, I really just don't understand how this guy is so unbelievably shocked, or either of these guys are so shocked to get these responses from Destiny. And sorry, I lost track of my mind for a second. I think somebody I was given this by a friend. It was a gift, and they said you'll really enjoy this cake. And I've eaten it, and I've now just realized that I'm pretty sure he's put something in the cake, and I just thought it was a normal cake. But he was earlier bragging about how much this religion is growing and expanding, and it is becoming the most prominent religion on earth. And so he can't be that surprised if he's talking about it this way, that people are going to have critiques of something that is growing, expanding, and could have a bigger impact on the world. If he's going to hype up this religion like that, then he can't be that surprised that it's going to come with critiques, and it's going to come with criticisms directed at the faith. Oh yeah, it's just a rum cake? I don't think it's rum.
Certain types of speech. That's not what we do in the United States. Maybe in other countries in the world, we might be in a minority on that, but I think it's a beautiful thing in the United States.
You used to talk quite extensively about responsible use of your platform. Yep. Like, I don't want to get all soy and be all like, because I've seen people do it to you before and it's cringe.
Mm-hmm. Also, like, if it's becoming such a bigger religion, like, yes, any critiques, any mockery towards a religion could end up in some hatred towards the people who follow that religion. But that's true with like any form of ideology or religious structure. That doesn't mean we just avoid criticizing or mocking said religion. That means that when we see that type of behavior, we call it out and we try our best to try to, like, I would say we try our best to level our mockery and level our critiques in ways that won't get anybody directly hurt.
But you did used to talk about responsible use of your platform.
Yeah.
And just personally, from what I've seen on your subreddit, it seems like your these tweets and the discourse that you've made, it seems like if you just scratch the surface a little bit, the vitriol and vileness against Muslims comes out. There has been some wild shit said in the Twitter, in your Twitter replies, and to some extent in your subreddit. And I think
I agree with you there, but I think that comes from Muslims. I think it's their fault.
I don't. Like, for example, no, wait.
Super easily. I've never made fun of any other community and gotten that type of blowback before, so I imagine there probably is a lot of Islamophobia, and that sucks, and I wish there wasn't. But I think that's because of the fact that there are thousands of them in my replies and in my DMs that are saying they want to kill me and my family. So I mean, like, it's hard for me to be sympathetic there.
Yeah, but no. But if you, let's take this hypothetical, right? If you had, I don't know how many Muslims had seen your tweet.
Oh, I missed it. $20 from Sean Cebu. Oh my goodness. Thank you for the $20. They said, I hear the Double Down is back at KFC. Oh, dude, they have KFC in Ukraine. They have those in Ukraine. I don't know if it's back everywhere, if it's just back in the States. I hope it's back everywhere. Dude, now I want some fried chicken. Oh, you're doing me like that. You're making me hungry for fried chicken. That isn't fair, chat. Don't bring up fried chicken in my presence, man. You know how much I love fried chicken? Does Dylan have plutonium poisoning? I have no... I think he gave me a weed kick. Like, I'm just going to keep it over there.
Tweets. But if you had messaged or made posts about, I don't know, 2,000 black people, right, mocking their parents or their father or their mother, as you have done the Prophet, right, and then collated their responses, I'm sure you would have got some. Like, I'm sure if you'd have messaged...
Do you understand the difference between black people versus a religion? If I was making fun of... If I had tweeted out Arabs, then I could understand that would be irresponsible. But I'm tweeting out making fun of a religion, right? I don't have to respect their...
I don't understand. No, but I don't understand the fundamental difference there.
The fundamental difference is that, like, you can't use a system of belief to attack other people with violence, and it's fundamentally different than attacking a people versus, like, a group of people that believe in a religion. There's a difference between attacking an idea versus an actual person. Yes.
No. So if you'd have said, right, like, if you'd made those posts about black people, about black mothers and fathers, and then a load of black people had in your responses being like, oh, hey, look at this, like, I'm gonna kill you or whatever the shit people said, right? And then said, hey, whoa, look at how sensitive and how fragile black people are. Look at how blah, blah, blah. I don't know, whatever tweets you said, substitute Muslims in for black people. How, like, I lost my train of thought, but how can, like, how are they not analogous here?
Because an immutable characteristic like your race is something that you're born into, and I don't typically condemn people for those traits. A religion is a series of beliefs that you choose to adhere to, and I will make fun of people for that. It's stupid to not eat pork. Pork is awesome. And it's stupid to condemn people on LGBT issues or to worship people in the sky. I think that's dumb. So the same that I would deride Christians, Muslims, Jewish people for all of their beliefs, which I do and which I have, I'll continue to do the same for people that are Muslim as well. I don't think I'm not going to attack the people, but you should have the right to attack the religious belief system. Much the same that if you want to say I'm some godless heathen cuck like this guy did, and I'm going to go to hell with my wife being black all the way down to hell, that's fine. You have the right to say that as well. Knock yourselves out. But like in the United States of America, I have a right to say that, and I shouldn't be met with violence for it. Same as you can make fun of me without me being violent against you for it.
No, but yeah, I think you're fundamentally misunderstanding, like, the Islamic faith here. Muslims love the Prophet as they do a parent, exactly the same. It's not just a belief.
Yeah, that's like fine, but I would call that mental theology. That's mental illness to me. Okay, I don't know how.
But I know. No, hold on. That's not necessarily fair. Like, if would it be fair then for an orphan, let's say, to when he mocks someone's parents, for them to be outraged and decry it? Would it be then for him to be like, oh, that's ridiculous. That's mental illness. If for them to
Muhammad
be reacting
is not he's not your dad. Okay.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It's
though.
kind of important.
If someone, it doesn't. Why? If someone loves something.
There's a difference between somebody loving something that they can't even point to existing versus the love somebody may have for their parents that gave birth to them. These are two fundamentally different things.
Can someone not love, like...
I can see my mom, I can see my dad as having an everyday physical material impact on my life. You cannot say the same of any god.
Where is the fundamental difference there? The only issue is the love and the strength and the intensity of that love.
Somebody can have an intense love or respect for Harry Potter, but if I shit on Dumbledore, that doesn't mean they have a right to attack me in the street over it.
I think if someone genuinely, I mean, like, now I'm not like, I know it's a meme example. If someone genuinely loved in Dumbledore, right, as much as they love their parents, then yeah, I think it would be wrong to attack Dumbledore or to insult him.
Dude, he's a meme. He's memeing. I refuse. I refuse to believe this. I refuse to. No, I fuck off. No, fuck you. Really? This is ridiculous. Come on. So we're just gonna make imaginary make-believe things like completely protected because one person or two people might like feel offended because we mock that. So like we can mock nothing because there's 100% people out there when they see like a SNL skit mocking their video game, they get like really like furious and angry. Like this is a silly way to run a society. You're not even working in material reality anymore. You are changing how you treat material reality based upon fantasy, and you should not coddle people like that. That's so silly. That's so silly. Okay, I just joined your chat because you have the same name as me, and I've sucked into this stream for almost 2 hours. You love it? Happy to have you here.
Intentionally and explicitly in front of them.
Okay, and I don't think that should be met with violence.
Oh, sure, yeah, that's
Fucking jihad for Dumbledore, man.
your personal opinion. The majority of people seem to disagree
That's
with you.
great.
No, dude, no. The majority of people on the planet do not believe that somebody can engage in jihad for Dumbledore. Oh my god, man. Dude, there's gonna be some kids out there really into SpongeBob, man. They're gonna start training in the mountains of Kandahar, man. My goodness.
Great. I'm glad I've got my
Worldwide,
walls up.
globally.
I'm glad I've got the Atlantic and the Pacific blocking me from all the crazies from other places. So amen to my good country, I guess.
Okay. Fair enough. I think we've kind of we've run the gamut on this. Krantos, anything else before we kind of wind this down?
Last time I checked, Destiny is not fucking 3 years old. I don't know why the fuck you spent half your time fucking trying to defend him and tell him, please let him get a word in. Like I could have spoke for himself half the time. Also, the man himself was fucking cutting me off, but it is what it is. The man himself said he would be comfortable with having.
Do you not think you've gotten a good amount of speaking time, Krantos?
I have. I have. I'll be fair to you. I have. Right? But I will say this much. The man himself just said, dependent on your environment, you could be a mature 13-year-old that's ready for marriage. So he.
Tenzin Bass got a tier 1 subscription.
Hey.
Tenzin Base asterisk got a tier 1 asterisk subscription.
Base site chatter.
He's acknowledged that the way that the world has it set up right now is based off of majority. There isn't some sort of fucking test or scientific fucking method that was applied to the reason why we have 16 or 18 as the age of majority. So to that point, he completely conceded. Of course, if he believes otherwise, that's his right. Second of all, he believes that what he's doing is disrespectful, is harmful to certain people, and he does not give a fuck whatsoever. Because he says, my freedom of speech trumps anything that you believe or care about or hold dear. And as long as I live in the United States of America, I'll disrespect and I'll do whatever I want to any of you guys, and I'm free to do so. And to that, there can be no other argument but, do you? So,
okay, well, this has been wonderful. Thank you both for being willing to come out. Yeah, it's been a thing. I would have liked to have more on here, but like I said, it was very hard to get Muslims who would follow TOS or agree to come on. And we've done the best we could. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for coming today. We are kind of just going to close it out, I think, at this point. Closing statements from Destiny. We'll start with Destiny and we'll go around. So Destiny, final thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think a cornerstone of liberal democracy is that we're allowed to say things in society that might make people really mad. And as soon as we start justifying violent responses to things that really upset us, we fundamentally destroy the fabric that makes our society work. The only reason the United States has survived this far, the only reason why Muslims are even allowed in the United States is because we hold ourselves to a very high standard when it comes to tolerating other people's hate speech, and that we will not respond with violence. That is a principle that I hold very dear to myself. I would hope that everybody in the United States would hold dear to it. And if you don't, I don't think you have a place in this country, and I wish you would leave.
Fair enough. Uzmark, final thoughts.
Yeah, so I wish we would have.
Find you, Uzmark. Just make sure to.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I wish we would have talked a little bit more about the fragility argument. I think it had more merit than Destiny gave, and if we could explore it more, that would be fun. If anyone else wants to, we can. As Q said, I think we've just come to a fundamental impasse, and I have to reiterate that Destiny and Wick are both here in the minority of opinion globally, worldwide. Most people disagree with them, and so therefore I think if someone wants to react with violence to words, I don't think they should be disparaged and to be looked at as savages, as Destiny said, or as uncivilized, because most of civilization actually agree with them. I would also like to say that, yeah, Destiny simply saying that, yeah, he's been a dick online to Muslims, and okay, fair enough, he's been a dick, whatever. Online you can find me at YouTube. I'm trying to make some YouTube videos right now. The time difference here is crazy. So yeah, you can find me at YouTube. I try to be as good faith and honest as possible. I bite bullets if honesty forces me to. That's it.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for reaching out. This was an interesting discussion.
I would like to also apologize, Wick. I completely lost track of the time.
Is what is. It's over. I don't hold grudges. But thank you for being here. And we'll have you on again. Kratos, please. Final thoughts, and where can people find you?
Yeah, final thoughts. Destiny holds up liberalism as the greatest way of life, and any opposing thought is completely false. And
True.
Islam and liberalism do not mesh, they do not mix. For a liberal society to thrive, Islam would damn near need to be either completely changed to the point where it's not Islam anymore, or it would need to just completely be eradicated.
I mean, his interpretation of Islam, I mean, to live in it and function in it properly, or successfully, maybe. But that could just be because you have a terrible interpretation of Islam that does not function with the most prosperous societies in the world today.
Is also ignoring the fact that Islamic societies are incredibly fair and good to women. In fact, the safest country on planet Earth for women is Qatar. And you could see that from the World Cup experience that Western women had in Qatar, where they said that they've never felt safer. So when he tries to label Islam as a religion that is unfair or oppressive towards women, I completely and fundamentally disagree with each and every single point when he says that, because it's false. It's not real. It's based in fantasy. And it's also, funny enough, it's based on what a lot of Islamophobes.
While the family law forbids husbands from hurting their wives physically or morally, and there are general criminal codes provisions on assault, Qatar has no laws on domestic violence or measures to protect survivors and persecute their abusers. From Human Rights Watch, World Report 2022. Safest place in the world to be a woman.
Say to try to characterize Islam as a religion that is oppressive to women, when it's not. Islam came at a time where women were oppressed, and it freed them. And I believe at the end of the day, I do agree with him. He has the right to say whatever the fuck he wants, especially in the United States of America, where his freedom of speech is a constitutionally defended right. But I also do believe that he's also free to face the consequences. And if they come in the form of a fucking punch, smack, kick, I don't see a problem with it. If it goes further than that and people want to kill him, I completely denounce that, and I think that that is completely abhorrent and wrong. But that's
what about 2 punches? Is 2 punches okay?
No, listen. As long as the hair turns brown, I think he gets away with no punches, because the fucking
and Destiny
seep into his brain. That's factual.
Destiny,
100%.
you can come to Dubai as a blue head, they, them, nothing bad is going to happen to you. You're not going to get thrown off a building. Nothing. There are loads of transgender people here. Gay people, nothing happens.
Yep.
Wow, babes.
Yep. Oh, by the way, you can find me on...
Wait, did he just say there's no problem with being gay or transgender in Qatar? Or in Dubai? Did he just say Dubai? He's just insane. He's just lying. This is just cap. This is just lying. I mean, it might be possible for foreigners if they stay very, very, very private about it. But people who were born, nah, I don't. Nah, I just don't believe him.
Kratos on Kick. Oh, by the way, that's Qorantos to those that are illiterate. I'm sure there is many in Destiny's chat. Kratos on Kick, YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok.
Okay. Thank you all for being here.
Just curious for you too. What religion do you guys say that they follow in Iran and Syria? Do you say they're Muslim as well, or do you have a different name for it?
Muslim.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah. There is it's a deep discussion, but yeah, you would say that as a Sunni Muslim, they are Muslims, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for being here. Just my closing thoughts on all this.
I'm not gonna like wade into the religious discussion in the Muslim community, but the correct type is that cool type that do the dances. You know what I'm talking about? The ones who go like swish, swish, swish. They're awesome, therefore they're the correct ones. What do you guys know what they're correct? They have the correct religious interpretation. Do you guys know what their names are? Sufi Muslims, right? Sufi Muslims, yeah, Sufi Muslims. They are they're the correct interpretation of Islam. Yeah, they do the dances. They're so cool. Okay.
Yeah, freedom of speech is important. I don't care.
Okay, well done. That was a good debate, though. This is Destiny at his best. Talking to people like that, this is great. I mean, they did poorly. I mean, very poorly. I'm going to be completely frank with you. They were unable to appeal to Destiny or really, I think, anybody watching at all. I mean, they were, man, I really think they didn't, I don't think they thought it through in advance, really. I mean, by the end of it, it was just an appeal to popularity. I mean, that's really bad, man. They couldn't even make like a moral argument for it at the end. It was like, well, Destiny's an extremist for not wanting people who insult the Prophet Muhammad assaulted and or murdered. Like, I mean, come on, this whole debate's just cope.